Chapter 10:14. Xiao Yunju shook his head as he spoke, as if he was reciting an ancient poem. Xiao Yunju had already started his first grade, so he had a budding understanding of some things. Of course, Xiao Yunju did not know where to use the phrase snatching girl. It was only because he had learned these words in the past few days that Xiao Yunju was able to use them. Children were often the most innocent when they were not in school, but once they stayed in school for a long time, they would naturally understand some things. However, not long after Xiao Yunju spoke, the mischievous Duanli interrupted. No, that's not the right word. Duanli even cleared her throat as she spoke. She had completely turned into a little teacher, and then said very seriously, "It should be like this. Ahem." In broad daylight, under the clear sky, Big Brother C hugged Big Sister Yunjian, who had just returned home, and did something shameful. Xiao Yunju's words might not have caused such a big misunderstanding, but Duan Li's words made people's imaginations run wild. Originally, when Yunjian had jumped into his arms, C.E. had, of course, hugged her symbolically. How could he not hug the woman he loved when she jumped in his arms? But sure, Duan Li's words. Did she mean that he was hugging Yunjian and doing something shameful? Xiao Yunju and Duan Li were completely misled by the new words that the school teacher had taught them. Yunjian and Si stood at the door, but they could clearly hear the conversation between two of the three little heads that poked their heads downstairs. Yunjian's cheeks immediately turned red. Si's face also darkened. Being caught by Xiao Yunju and the other two, Yunjian had a feeling that she would be teaching the children wrong things. Thus, just as she was about to squirm out of Si's arms, she was pressed back down by C.E. "You three come down." C.E. didn't turn around. He maintained his position of hugging Yunjian as he spoke to the three little heads poking out from upstairs. Toward Xiao Yunju and the other two, C.E. had never spoken in an angry tone. Therefore, Xiao Yunju and the other two subconsciously believed that their big brother C.E. had the best temper. He seemed to be having fun again. Children were very naughty. Xiao Yunju was also a boy. Of course, he was also naughty. Duan Li also had a lively personality, so when she heard Si's slightly gloomy voice, Xiao Yunju and the other two started to hide, as if they were about to be caught by Si. They kept shouting with all their might. "Wow! Big Brother C.E. is going to snatch the kids. Big Brother C.E. is going to catch us. We're rocks that don't move. Big Brother C.E. can't see us." Xiao Yunju was having so much fun that he was sweating profusely. However, Yunjian, who was standing downstairs, felt a little awkward. However, nestling in Si's arms made her feel at ease. It was as if she had really returned home and didn't have to worry about anything else. Yunjian's lips curled into a smile as she hugged C.E. with her arms wrapped around him, pressing her body tightly against him. "Your mom went out. Adam and the others also went out. There's only the two of us at home and the three upstairs." When he mentioned the three upstairs, C.E. recalled the scene just now and his face darkened. "Okay." Yunjian nodded. Then, she wanted to withdraw from C.E.'s arms. She said, "It's already noon. You guys haven't eaten yet, right? Let's take Xiao Yunju and the other two out for lunch." Yunjian wanted to squirm out of C.E.'s arms, but C.E. pressed her back into his arms. "Adam's injuries have already recovered," C.E. said again. Yunjian felt a little strange. Why was he so talkative today? In spite of it, Yunjian did not see the smirk on C.E.'s lips. The girl's front was pressed against him. A certain twin peaks were pressed tightly against his chest. He could even feel the girl's fullness through his thin clothes. Chapter 10:15. Yunjian's face was pressed against C.E.'s chest, and her head was just touching C.E.'s chin. If she didn't look up, she wouldn't be able to see C.E.'s slightly curved lips. Although she was a little suspicious, she just pursed her lips and listened to C.E.'s nonsense in the end. Yunjian was still puzzled. Why was C.E., who had never said a word of nonsense before, talking nonstop like a chatterbox today? Coincidentally, Yunjian responded to C.E. again. Then, she glanced at a clock not far away. She saw that the hour and minute hands were pointing at noon. She interrupted C.E., who was still talking nonsense. "Let's take Xiao Zhu and the rest for lunch. I'm a little hungry too." As she spoke, Yunjian gently stroked her flat tummy. He felt his heart overflow when he heard the girl's soft voice. He didn't even know when he agreed to Yunjian's request. Okay. As soon as he finished speaking, he let go of Yunjian's alluring body. Then, he held Yunjian's hand and walked upstairs. Xiao Yunju and the other two really thought that he was going to play hide-and-seek with them. Their laughter spread to every corner of the villa. However, when it came to he caught Xiao Yunju and the other two almost instantly and brought them downstairs as if they were chickens. Seeing that Xiao Yunju, Duan Li, and Duan Yu were sweating profusely from playing, Yunjian even used a towel to wipe their sweat. Then, Yunjian held Duan Li and Duan Yu's hands. He extended his slender hand and let Xiao Yunju drag him away. Only then did the five of them leisurely walk towards the restaurant. Xiao Yunju, Duan Li, and Duan Yu each ordered their favorite dishes. Then, Yunjian ordered 4 more dishes. 7 dishes for meat and 3 vegetables. Xiao Yunju, Duan Li, and Duan Yu ate until their faces were covered in gravy. Eat slowly, Yunjian said softly as she scraped the rice stuck to Xiao Yunju's mouth. Xiao Yunju and the other two weren't wolfing down the food because they were hungry. They were competing to see who could eat faster and who could grab more food. Therefore, they didn't even have time to talk. A child's pleasure was nothing more than these few points. Snatching food from their friends was the most delicious food. However, if it was really a world-class delicacy, no matter how delicious the food was, they would lose their appetite if they didn't have children to fight with. Because she knew from CE that Qin Yiru and Mrs. Yang went shopping, Qin Yiru also knew that CE was a responsible child. Therefore, she was relieved to leave Xiao Yunju and the other two in CE's care. Qin Yiru would probably come back at night. With this in mind, Yunjian thought of taking Xiao Yunju and the other two out to play in the afternoon. Xiao Zhu, is there anywhere you want to go? Big sister and big brother CE, you will take the 3 of you out to play in the afternoon, Yunjian said with a smile as she rubbed Xiao Yunju and the other two's heads. At this moment, Yunjian's smile was the most sincere. At this moment, the smile on her face was from the bottom of her heart. The amusement park. We're going to the amusement park that we went to last time, Xiao Yunju immediately said to Yunjian. At the same time, he had a look of anticipation on his face. Chapter 10:16. Receiving Xiao Yunju and the rest's expectant gazes, Yunjian pressed her lips together before she smiled and nodded. Okay. Yunjian patted Xiao Yunju's head lightly and urged, hurry up and eat if you want to go to the amusement park. You won't get to play if you're late. Amusement parks usually closed at 8 or 9 in the evening. Longmen City's amusement park was especially new, so it had been operating later these few days. It would only start to chase customers away at about 10 in the evening. Yay! 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 Xiao Yunju yelled, yay thrice in excitement, and swiftly dug into the rice in his bowl, stuffing it all into his stomach. Soon, Yunjian and CE took Duan Li, Duan Yu, and Xiao Yunju's hands respectively and took the bus to Longmen City's new amusement park. In 1999, there were not as many amusement parks as there were now. Longmen City's amusement park was one of the earlier ones, so people from neighboring cities would come here for sightseeing. Hence, there were more tourists here. Yunjian and CE had already brought Xiao Yunju and the rest here before, so they went in quickly after buying tickets. It was May Day, a long holiday for the students. Parents usually brought their children out for sightseeing. Moreover, children preferred places like amusement parks where children could play. So today, the amusement park was full of tourists. Jia, we're going to play bumper cars. Xiao Yunju and the rest hugged each other excitedly as soon as they entered the amusement park. They even led the way to the bumper cars venue. The newly opened amusement park in Longmen City was more upscale, so they could play all the games inside as long as they bought a ticket at the entrance. However, they had to line up to enter the park in order to play the games. Xiao Yunju and the rest stood in line at the venue, holding Yunjian and CE's hands respectively. There were a lot of people lining up here just like a long dragon. Some people were even getting impatient from waiting. Duan Li stood on the spot, her little hand held by Yun Jian as she looked around. At this time, a group of young boys and girls about the same age as Yun Jian jumped over the railing. Because there were a lot of people in the queue, sometimes there would be people who cut the queue when the staff wasn't paying attention. Not only did she cut the queue, but when the young boys and girls jumped over the railing, one of the girls stepped on Duan Li's little foot fiercely. Duan Li was still young, and her feet were still tender. She was stepped on by one of the girls who jumped over the railing and cut in line. She immediately screamed, it hurts." Yun Jian looked over and saw the girl who had climbed over the fence stepping on Duan Li's foot. The girl even rolled her eyes at Duan Li and muttered softly, F***, annoying brat, get away from me. She then tried to catch up with the boys and girls who jumped over the railing and cut in line. Duan Li's frail body contorted from the girl's stomp. She curled up on the ground, tears falling from her eyes from the pain. "Chestnut, what's wrong with you?" Xiao Yunju reacted the fastest, squeezing to Duan Li to check where she was hurt. Seeing that the girl was about to leave, Yun Jian lowered her gaze. She suddenly grabbed the girl's wrist when she was about to move forward with the surrounding passengers. Chapter 10:17. Yun Jian saw Xiao Yunju slowly helping Duan Li up from the ground, so she did not help Duan Li right away. Instead, she caught the girl who stepped on Duan Li and tried to escape. "Jie, it doesn't hurt." Duan Li had been beaten since she was young, so when she saw Yun Jian tugging at the girl's shirt for her, she tugged at Yun Jian's clothes in fear. Duan Li was afraid that Yun Jian would get into a conflict with someone else because of her. When Duan Li was beaten up by her alcoholic father, there was once a neighbor Annie who came out to stop her. In the end, her father beat the kind neighbor Annie as well. Duan Li was still young, but her experience was something that many people could not go through in their lifetime. Duan Li was afraid that she would bring unnecessary trouble to Yun Jian because of her. She was afraid that Yun Jian would be harmed because of her. Due to her childhood, Duan Li might look lively and playful on the outside, but deep down, she was afraid of the world. No one could understand the loneliness and fear that lurked in her heart. Yun Jian lowered her head slightly. She could see that Duan Li's face was pale from being stepped on by the girl just now. A child's feet were soft and tender, unable to withstand even the slightest injury. What was more, when the girl flipped over the railing just now, she had jumped down from the railing that was about half a meter high. Stepping on Duan Li's foot from a height was like standing up and stomping on Duan Li's foot. Not to mention that Duan Li was just a child. Even an adult would turn pale after being stomped on like that. When Duan Li tugged at her clothes and said, "It doesn't hurt," Yun Jian felt something tugging at her heart. F***, are you crazy? I didn't do anything to you. Why do you have to make me apologize for no reason? The girl with curly hair looked like a gangster. It was nothing to be a gangster. Yun Jian was definitely the gangster among the students in Longmen City. She was now the boss of the province's top mafia group. As a person, being in the underworld wasn't scary, but the scariest thing was that he didn't admit what he had done. Refusing to admit what he had done was probably something that many people had done before, so it wasn't unusual. But what was disgusting was that not only did this girl not admit it, her aggressive tone made her sound more reasonable. Let go, let go, let go. If you don't let go, I'll call someone over to beat you up." Some people relied on the fact that they were gangsters and knew some ruffians in the society. Then, they felt that they knew some invincible people, and their tone was very arrogant. This girl was such a person. She glanced at Yun Jian contemptuously from the corner of her eyes and struggled desperately to shake off Yun Jian's hand that was grabbing her wrist. The surrounding people had all seen the scene just now. Everyone present felt that Yun Jian was right. "Little girl, we won't say anything about you cutting the queue just now, but it's a little unreasonable for you to not apologize after stepping on someone's sister, isn't it?" There was a tall and plump young man with a beer belly who stood at the front of the line. He saw what happened just now and spoke to the girl on Yun Jian's behalf. Before the young man could finish, however, the girl cut him off. F***ck off, fatty. It's none of your business. As she spoke, she turned back to look at Yun Jian. "Are you letting go or not? If you don't let go, I'll ask my friends to catch you and beat you up. Do you believe me?" Chapter 10:18. The girl was stunned. Just as she was about to speak, she was attracted by the voices of a few young men and women who were squeezing their way to the front. "Young Kai-Dai, what are you doing? Why aren't you coming over?" One of the boys, who was taller than the rest, bellowed when he saw the girl who was held back by Yun Jian. Obviously, this girl's name was Yang Kai-Dai. Yang Kai-Dai became even more frustrated after being yelled at by the boy. Her friends had already cut the queue and ran to the front, but she was being held back by Yun Jian and could not catch up with her friends. Moreover, one bumper car could seat two people. Yang Kai-Dai sat in the same car with her boyfriend. Her boyfriend was a real hooligan. She was so anxious to catch up with him because she wanted to sit in the same bumper car as him. In the end, Yun Jian wanted her to apologize. Yang Kai-Dai thought that she was a person with a lot of self-respect, especially after she met her current boyfriend and made friends with many gangsters. She felt that she was very arrogant. Yang Kai-Dai felt that it was impossible for her to apologize to Yun Jian. "Come over quickly. There's a B*TCH here who wants me to apologize. Damn it, I haven't done anything to her yet." Yang Kai-Dai was getting more and more frustrated as she was surrounded by people in the queue. She shouted at her friends who had already run to the front. Upon hearing Yang Katie's shout, her friends who had already cut the queue all ran back. Yun Jian was standing in front with Duan Li and Duanya, while Si was standing behind her. Although Si was tall, he deliberately bent his body and leaned slightly against Yun Jian. That was why Yang Kai-Dai did not see Si. At this moment, Yang Katie's friends had already run back and jumped over the railing one by one. They surrounded Yun Jian and the people in the queue as if they were going to fight. F***CK. "Little girl, you look pretty. Are you trying to bully my girlfriend?" Standing outside the railing, a hooligan-like boy raised his head and pointed his chin at Yun Jian as he spoke arrogantly. This boy was obviously Yang Katie's hooligan boyfriend. However, as soon as the boy appeared, he stared at Yun Jian without blinking. That expression was very unusual. Seeing this, Si stood behind Yun Jian and hugged her slender waist from behind. "You're not going to apologize, are you?" Yun Jian's tone was cold. She narrowed her eyes, but the atmosphere around her had changed. Looking at Yun Jian's cold expression, Yang Katie's boyfriend felt an itch in his heart. Yun Jian's current appearance was like a cold little beauty. At this moment, Yu Hui felt a certain part of his body swell up. He even felt that his girlfriend, Yang Kai-Dai, was tasteless. "Hey, little beauty, you seem to have quite a temper," Yu Hui said as he looked at Yun Jian with a sneaky smile. However, just as he finished speaking, Yun Jian reached out and pulled Yang Katie's body. Her other hand slapped Yang Katie's cheek fiercely. Slap! Yun Jian slapped Yang Kai-Dai so hard that she leaned against the railing. Before Yang Kai-Dai could explode, Yun Jian stretched out her leg and stepped on Yang Katie's foot. In the next second, Yang Kai-Dai screamed like a pig being slaughtered. For a moment, she did not even have time to scold Yun Jian. Yun Jian stepped on Yang Katie's foot with one foot. She stomped on Yang Katie's foot fiercely as she tossed and turned. Chapter 10:19. She paused for a while. "Looks like you're enjoying it," Yun Jian added. She increased her strength, and at the same time, her whole body was almost on top of Yang Katie's feet. Yang Kai-Dai was an adult, so of course, she wouldn't be willing to be stepped on by Yun Jian like this. She struggled with all her might, but Yun Jian slapped her every time she struggled. This scene shocked everyone in the queue, and at the same time, Yu Hui and the rest were scared silly. No one expected Yun Jian to be so ferocious. Most importantly, Yun Jian looked thin and frail, but her current look was enough to make her look like a real woman. Not to mention whether Yang Kai-Dai could beat Yun Jian, Yang Kai-Dai couldn't even reach out to touch the corner of Yun Jian's clothes. Yun Jian stepped on Yang Katie's feet, and the weight of her whole body was exerted on Yang Katie's feet. Yang Katie's face instantly turned red, and she was in a state where she couldn't bear the pain anymore. Yu Hui, hurry up and drag this damn woman out. Save me." Yang Kai-Dai couldn't beat Yun Jian, so she waved her arms wildly, trying to grab Yun Jian's hair and tear it apart by force. However, Yun Jian didn't let her do as she wished. Whenever Yang Kai-dai wanted to reach out, Yun Jian would directly give her a fiery slap in this narrow space, causing Yang Katie's whole body to twitch. Yu Hui and his brothers were dumbfounded by what they saw. Don't girls usually like to pull hair when they fight? Why'd it feel different when it came to Yun Jian? When Yun Jian hit Yang Kai-dai, Ce protected Xiao Yunju, Duan Li, and Duan Yu behind her, and, at the same time, didn't let Xiao Yunju and the rest see this scene. F***CK, little beauty, what are you doing? Hurry up and let go of my girlfriend's hand. Don't force me to hit you. Yu Hui saw that his girlfriend was being bullied by Yun Jian, and he wanted to do something, but he considered that Yun Jian was a girl. Most importantly, Yun Jian was much prettier than his girlfriend. Yu Hui felt that he really liked Yun Jian, and he felt that he wanted to dump his girlfriend and get to know Yun Jian. However, if he didn't save his girlfriend, Yu Hui felt that he would leave a bad impression with Yun Jian. If he didn't even save his girlfriend, Yu Hui subconsciously thought that he would leave a bad impression in the hearts of girls. Wanting to act like a man in front of Yun Jian, Yu Hui went to Yun Jian and extended his hand to stop Yun Jian from stepping on his girlfriend's foot. Of course, Yu Hui wanted to touch Yun Jian's soft and tender body when he pulled Yun Jian away. Yun Jian naturally felt Yu Hui's thoughts, and Ce, who was standing behind Yun Jian, was naturally very sensitive to Yu Hui's actions, as he was also a man. Just as Yu Hui was about to approach Yun Jian, Ce, who was standing behind Yun Jian, helped Xiao Yunju and the other two settle down. He didn't even bother holding onto the railing. He lifted his long leg and stepped on the railing with one foot, jumping over the railing from the long queue. That wasn't all. Ce lifted his leg quickly, and after he jumped over the railing, he put both his hands into his trouser pockets, and without even using his hands, he kicked Yu Hui, who was about to reach out to Yun Jian. Yu Hui was sent flying by Ce's swift and fierce kick. With a loud bang, he fell to the ground, and Yu Hui felt that his internal organs were about to be shattered. Chapter 10:20. Yu Hui clutched his internal organs. He felt as if his internal organs were about to be crushed by Ce's kick. This feeling was worse than death. Cough, cough, cough. Yu Hui clutched his chest and coughed violently. Jumping over the railing meant that they weren't in the queue. Amusement parks would usually set up a long queue railing. Outside the railing, there was a flat area where there was no need to queue. Yu Hui and his group had jumped over the railing to run back to help Yang Kai-dai just now. Ce had also jumped over the railing and kicked away Yu Hui, who wanted to touch Yun Jian. Yun Jian's eyes dimmed slightly before her lips curled up. At this moment, she felt warmth in her heart, because he was behind her. Slap. Thinking of Duan Li's feet that hadn't recovered yet, Yun Jian gave Yang Kai-dai another slap. Duan Li was only a child to begin with. She was still young and was still growing. Places like the back of her feet were tender and tender to begin with. Even Yun Jian's feet were soft and tender, let alone Duan Li. So when she thought of what Yang Kai-dai did to Duan Li and refused to apologize, she gave Yang Kai-dai a few more slaps without hesitation. In the end, Yun Jian grabbed Yang Katie's hair and pulled Yang Katie's head in front of her. She didn't let go of Yang Katie's foot. Are you going to apologize or not? Yun Jian said and gave Yang Kai-dai another slap. In fact, Yun Jian was already very soft-hearted. According to her character in her previous life, Yang Kai-dai would have already been killed. But now that they were in the amusement park, she didn't want to cause a big commotion. However, to an ordinary person, Yun Jian's action was quite shocking. If it was any other ordinary person, even if they saw their own people being stepped on by someone else and were rejected when they asked for an apology, they wouldn't be able to do anything about it. Even if the other party was as confident as Yang Kai-dai, they could only give up. What else could they do? He could only admit that he was unlucky. After all, Yun Jian had beaten, scolded, and even asked for an apology. If it were an ordinary person, who would dare to do that? Not only was this an action that could easily cause trouble, but more importantly, to hit a person in front of so many people, even an ordinary person would feel embarrassed. Especially for girls, they had to pay attention to their image. Who would be like Yun Jian? Who would be so unscrupulous? not to mention whether ordinary people could have the same strength as Yunjian. I apologize, I apologize. Ah, please let me go. Ouch, 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 it hurts. Young Katie's hands were held by Yunjian as she pulled her hair over mercilessly. She was in so much pain that she broke out in cold sweat. How arrogant she was just now was how weak she was now. Young Katie's entire body was trembling violently. At this moment, even the tourists standing around felt a trace of fear. How could such a young girl do things in such a cruel way? I didn't hear it. Just when everyone present thought that Yunjian would let go after hearing the apology, they heard Yunjian's cold voice again. The next moment, following Yunjian's cold voice, was a crisp slap. Yunjian gave Yang Kaidai another slap. At the same time, she raised her voice, and her tone was even more arrogant that couldn't be ignored. If you don't apologize to me, I will break your leg. Only then did Yang Kaidai know fear, and her whole body was trembling. At this moment, Yang Katie's heart was roaring. She is the devil. She is the devil. Chapter 10:21. She had clearly apologized. She had already apologized. But what did Yunjian say? She said she didn't hear it? Could it be that because she said it too lightly, Yunjian didn't mean it? Yang Kaidai couldn't help but curse in her heart. How could there be such an unreasonable person in this world? Wasn't Yunjian lying to her? But Yang Kaidai forgot. While she was thinking about it, she seemed to have forgotten something. How did she treat Yunjian just now? How unreasonable was she when she didn't admit what she did to Duan Li? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was wrong. Please let me go. Let me go. Yang Kaidai begged desperately. For a girl like Yang Kaidai, she was arrogant because she had a boyfriend. Yu Hui was a gangster and knew quite a lot of gangsters. He often fought with others and even liked to call a group of friends who called themselves brothers. Whenever one of their buddies got into a little bit of trouble with someone else, this group of buddies would all come. Even if it was just a little bit of trouble, they would make it sound like a big deal. Then a large group of people would band together to fight. Yu Hui often did this kind of thing. Of course, this wasn't considered a gang fight. If one really had to talk about it, wasn't a guy like Yu Hui just trying to find some sense of presence in front of girls? Gang fights after gang fights, what was it for? To run in front of girls, to show off. But what about girls? Some girls had never been exposed to such things. Then, when they heard a guy like Yu Hui exaggerating and saying that he was as powerful as Superman, they really thought that guys were omnipotent. However, girls like Yang Kaidai naturally fell in love with Yu Hui. She was even tricked by Yu Hui into thinking that Yu Hui and this group of people were omnipotent. But in the end, if she really met someone like Yunjian, without the help of her boyfriend, Yu Hui, Yang Kaidai would probably beg Yunjian to let her go. This time, Yang Kaidai really screamed and begged Yunjian to let her go. She was afraid that Yunjian would say, "I didn't hear you again." When Yang Kaidai realized that her boyfriend wasn't as powerful as he said, Yang Kaidai could only beg Yunjian to let her go. Yunjian only smiled coldly. Then, she swung her hand and let go of Yang Katie's hand. She didn't plan to continue to hit Yang Kaidai. After Yunjian let go of her hands and legs, Yang Kaidai felt like she was reborn. She was so scared that she crawled along the railing like she was avoiding the plague. Yu Hui's legs kicks leg. As for the rest of them, they didn't dare to come up to Yunjian and see. In the end, Yang Katie's group didn't even bother with the bumper cars anymore. They all ran away like a puff of smoke. Yay! Sister and C. Gij beat the bad guys. Xiao Yunju's cute little hands held on to Duan Li as he shouted. The surrounding crowd was shocked by Yunjian and Si Yi's skills. After that, Yunjian and Si Yi brought Xiao Yunju and the other two to line up as usual. Yunjian also carefully checked Duan Li's leg. Seeing that there was a black patch, Yunjian carried Duan Li. Although Duan Li's leg hurt, she didn't want to go home. Chapter 10:22. Duan Li was carried by Yunjian. Duan Li was very light, as if she had no flesh on her body. Therefore, Yunjian didn't feel tired at all. Duan Li had 2 ponytails today and looked very cute. When Yun Jian carried her, the ponytails would gently touch Yun Jian's skin. However, Yun Jian didn't have any expression of disgust. Instead, she pursed her lips and smiled gently. He flipped over the railing and stood behind her. Young lady, your boyfriend was so handsome just now. When Yang Kai-dai stepped on Duan Li's foot and wanted to leave without apologizing, the surrounding people were all watching the show. Only this young man with a beer belly spoke up for Yun Jian. Now that he saw Yun Jian and Ce, this young man couldn't help but say to Yun Jian, this young man with a beer belly was a typical fat man, and his body looked rather burly. He didn't have any other intentions. He just wanted to say something to Yun Jian. Yun Jian also admired people like him who were willing to help others when they met on the road. When a young man with a beer belly finished speaking, Yun Jian nodded and smiled at him, but didn't say anything. Yun Jian's smile was a tacit agreement to the young man with a beer belly. He was her boyfriend. The young man with a beer belly seemed to have no one to talk to. So he looked at Duan Li, who was in Yun Jian's arms, Duanya, and Xiao Yunju, who was being held by Ce. The young man with a beer belly couldn't help but ridicule them. You guys look so young, especially you, young lady. I think you look like a 16 or 17-year-old girl. If I didn't see these three kids, I would have thought that you two were a couple from school. The beer-bellied young man obviously didn't believe that Xiao Yunju and the other two were Yun Jian and Ce. Some people didn't look old. Although Yun Jian and Ce looked young, the beer-bellied youth felt that they were old. Usually, when a young couple went on a date or went on a trip, it was impossible for them to bring their younger siblings along, right? If she were to bring her younger siblings along, their parents would have to come along as well, right? Although he couldn't believe it, the beer-bellied young man would rather think in another direction than think in this direction. Yun Jian was stunned when she heard the beer-bellied young man's voice. She was about to say something when the young man interrupted her. However, Ce snatched the right to speak. It's not good to keep the child cooped up at home. You should take some time to bring the child out for a walk. This meant that he had tacitly agreed with the beer-bellied youth's words. The corners of Yun Jian's mouth twitched. She wanted to explain again, but Ce hugged her slender waist and looked at her lovingly. He said, "Stop fooling around. Hold the child tight." Yun Jian was speechless. She could even feel the naked gazes of the people around her. Ha ha ha. I can tell that you two have a good relationship. The beer-bellied youth believed Ce's words without a doubt. At the same time, he changed from calling Yun Jian and Ce a couple to calling them husband and wife. Xiao Yunju and Duan Li looked younger. Whether it was Xiao Yunju, Duan Li, or Duanya, they were thin and weak. They looked like kindergartners. In comparison, Xiao Yunju had grown taller and looked much better. However, he looked like he was 6 or 7 years old at most. If Yun Jian and Ce looked older, then it wasn't too unbelievable that they had given birth to Xiao Yunju and the other two at an early age. The beer-bellied man smiled. Very good. Ce only revealed a charming smile. It was easy for Ce to say something that went against his conscience. Chapter 10:23. In the end, Ce actually started chatting with the beer-bellied young man. However, from the beginning to the end, Ce was flaunting his relationship with Yun Jian. In Ce's own words, he couldn't wait for the whole world to know that Yun Jian already belonged to him and only him. He absolutely wouldn't allow anyone to have any designs on Yun Jian. The long line actually passed by very quickly. In the blink of an eye, it was Yun Jian's turn. Because he still had Duanya with him, he didn't plan to play bumper cars like the other kids. A bumper car could only seat 2 people, so Yun Jian and Duanya sat in the same car. Xiao Yunju and Duan Li were already starting to understand things, so Yun Jian didn't have to worry about them sitting in the same car. Ce stood by the side and watched as Yun Jian, Xiao Yunju, and Duan Li sat in the same car. They were having a lot of fun. Seeing Yun Jian pursing her lips and feeling happy from the bottom of her heart, Ce also felt happy. He stared at Yun Jian the whole time. Even the middle-aged aunties in the line could feel the love in his eyes. Xiao Yunju and the other two loved to play bumper cars. Some of the dangerous games in the amusement park weren't suitable for Xiao Yunju and the other two, so Xiao Yunju and the other two dragged Yunjian along and immersed themselves in the bumper cars game for the whole afternoon. After playing once, they dragged Yunjian and Ce to line up for the second time. As a result, they didn't feel tired at all. When it was time for dinner, Yunjian and Ce brought Xiao Yunju and the other two to a restaurant in the amusement park to order dinner. The dishes in the amusement park were generally more expensive than those outside, but even so, Yunjian ordered a lot of dishes. During dinner, Yunjian sent a text message to Qin Yuru, telling her that she, Ce, and Xiao Yunju would not be home for dinner tonight. Labor Day was a 3-day holiday. Today was supposed to be the last day of Labor Day, so there should be evening self-study at night. However, the weather forecast said that the weather would not be good on the last day of Labor Day, and it happened to be a holiday, so the evening self-study was canceled. Of course, no one expected the weather to be so sunny today. In this era, it was common for the weather forecast to be wrong. Jijia, let's go boating after eating, okay? Yunju asked Duan Li and Duanya as he gobbled up the rice in his bowl. Okay. Yunjian rubbed Xiao Yunju's head. She felt that her brother was getting cuter and cuter. After dinner, the sky had already darkened. Night quickly shrouded the sky, and the amusement park was soon illuminated by neon lights. There were still many people playing in the amusement park. Of course, the boats by the creek were still sailing. It was just that the boats here were charged. Yunjian knew that as well. See, he had just paid for an hour's ride on the pedals. Yunjian was just about to step onto the boat, with Xiao Yunju and the other two. However, at this moment, she unconsciously saw a familiar face not far away. The familiar person was graceful and elegant. She was holding a boy who was about the same age as Xiao Yunju. They were surrounded by a group of people as they walked over. When she saw the graceful and elegant woman, Yunjian's eyes immediately locked. How did she meet Gu Xian's biological mother? Huayan here. Just as she was thinking this, Huayan also saw Yunjian. Chapter 1024. The moment Huayan saw Yunjian, she was stunned. At this moment, Huayan was surrounded by more than 10 bodyguards. She looked like a typical rich person. Huayan was holding the hand of a boy who was about the same age as Xiao Yunju. It was not hard to tell that the boy was the child of Huayan and her current husband, Hu Chaochuan. Huayan's current husband was ugly. Therefore, even though Huayan was good-looking, the boy she was holding the hand of took after her current husband, Hu Chaochuan. He had a flat nose, a round face, and even his hair was a little bald. It had to be said that the boy was extremely ugly. However, he was dressed in branded clothes. It was obvious that he was a rich man's son. When Huayan saw Yunjian and Ce with Xiao Yunju and the other two, she was stunned. Huayan remembered how Yunjian had insulted her the last time. Last time, Yunjian had called her a cheap woman. She had said that she and her current husband, Hu Chaochuan, were dogs and meows. Huayan had been waiting for the last time. When Qin Yiru and Gu Junjian got married, she wanted to go to the wedding and show off how sweet and beautiful her life was now, especially now that her identity was different from before. Her husband's uncle was an international business tycoon. Even in the entire world, his status was extraordinary. There was no need to mention it. This was because Huayan believed that a person like Yunjian would never be able to reach that level. Of course, her husband, Hu Chaochuan, was an example. Hu Chaochuan had followed his uncle and had become an international tycoon. For example, her husband was one of the investors of the amusement park today. That was why Huayan was here. It could be said that Huayan's son was on vacation these few days. Therefore, Huayan had been wandering around the amusement park with her son. As she was wandering around, she bumped into Yunjian. Huayan thought that Yunjian wouldn't come to the amusement park just to mock her, right? Therefore, Huayan held her son, Hu Qishang's hand, and walked over with big steps. After all, Huayan was for a wealthy family. After marrying Hu Chaochuan, she felt that her husband was very powerful. Therefore, she valued her cultivation even more. Huayan walked over and looked down at Yunjian. She was wearing a pair of high heels, so she looked much taller than Yunjian. I can't believe you guys are here. Huayan spoke as if Yunjian and the others were not supposed to be here. If you can come, why can't I? Yunjian was not the kind of person who would run away. She looked straight at Huayan. Huayan was slightly taller than Yunjian. Now that she was wearing high heels, it could be said that Huayan was looking down at Yunjian. However, Yunjian stood on the same spot. She did not look up at Huayan. Instead, she looked straight at Huayan, who was a few meters away. In terms of aura, even though Huayan's height was slightly taller than Yunjian, who was wearing flat shoes, Yunjian was stronger than Huayan in terms of aura and behavior. It was also because of this that Huayan hated Yunjian even more. Because this is my house. Mom doesn't like you guys coming here. I don't like you guys coming here either. So get out of my house. When Huayan wanted to say something, her son with a flat nose, Hu Qixiang, who was holding her hand, took the right to speak. As soon as Hu Qixiang spoke, Yunjian felt it. He was a typical example of being spoiled by Huayan and Hu Chaochuan. Chapter 1025. Hu Qixiang had been instilled with the idea that his father was very powerful since he was young. Before he came to the amusement park, Hu Qixiang already knew that his father was one of the investors here. He was only one of the investors, but in Hu Qixiang's mind, this amusement park belonged to his father. Everything here belonged to his family. He could decide who could come and who could not. Even the people who bought tickets to enter could scram out of here if they made him unhappy. That was the idea that Huayan instilled in Hu Qixiang. Huayan thought the same way, too. Although Hu Chaochuan was only one of the investors here, Huayan felt that everything here belonged to her family. With such thoughts in mind, Huayan often wandered around here when she had nothing to do. She felt that she was superior to everyone else as long as she stood here. This feeling drove Huayan crazy. Give it to me. Yunjian only smiled contemptuously. She did not want to fight for anything. Instead, she reached out her hand to Huayan. What? Huayan was shocked by Yunjian's action. She felt that her son, Hu Qixiang, was especially cool when he told Yunjian to get out of here, because this was her family's territory. He was indeed her son. He knew how to help his mother deal with bad people. Refund the tickets. It's the tickets for the 5 of us. Didn't you want us to leave? We were kicked out before we finished playing. Of course, you have to give us a refund. Yunjian did not care about other things. Instead, she reached out her hand and asked Huayan to give her a refund. Huayan was shocked by Yunjian's action. Wasn't Yunjian very domineering before? How come today? Why should I give you guys a refund? Huayan was infuriated by Yunjian's bluff. Huayan did not lack Yunjian's ticket money. In fact, the ticket money was nothing to Huayan. It was no different from the dust on the ground. However, if Huayan really refunded Yunjian's ticket money on the spot, wouldn't it be very embarrassing? Because we bought tickets and we haven't had enough fun yet. If you want us to leave, of course we'll ask for a refund, Yunjian said smoothly. But since you can't give us a refund, we can only continue with the game. Yunjian continued without waiting for Huayan to speak. At this point, Yunjian called out to Xiao Yunzhu, Duan Li, and Duanya. Xiao Zhu, you 3 follow Ce Gij to the boat first. Ce didn't appear, but he was watching everything that was happening in front of him. He knew that there were some things that Yunjian could solve by herself. If she couldn't solve it cleanly, then he would come and clean it up. Ce quickly grabbed Xiao Yunzhu and the other 2 as if they were chickens and entered the pedal boat. At Qixiang, let's go. Huayan knew that she could not argue with Yunjian. She gritted her teeth in anger, but after considering her appearance, she dragged Hu Qixiang away. Just you wait. It was going to be Qin Yiru and Gu Yunjian's wedding soon. At that time, she, Huayan, would show Yunjian how rich she was. Compared to her, Gu Junjian and Qin Yiru's family wealth was nothing. Huayan wanted to show off at Gu Junjian and Qin Yiru's wedding. She also wanted her ex-husband to see that the husband she found now was not only richer than him, but more importantly, he also knew how to dote on her. Chapter 1026. Just as they got on the boat, Yunzhu and Duan Li snatched the pedals with their tiny feet and stepped on them, having a great time. Siyi's long legs were pressed against Xiao Yunju's. Just as he carried Xiao Yunju and the other two onto the boat, Yunjin nimbly walked into the boat from the shore. Since Hua Yun had left on her own, Yunjin naturally did not ask her to stay, nor did she say anything. Because it was not the right time yet, she would let Hua Yun be smug for a few more days. Yunjin would never let anyone who belittled her mother off the hook. Reality had proven that Hua Yun had successfully angered her. As for the next step, she would make Hua Yun pay the price for angering her. Of course, Yunjin planned to give Hua Yun a heavy blow while preparing a grand wedding for Qin Yiru. Just as Yunjin thought of this, she had already stepped on the pedals and walked into the boat. The boat was not big and could only seat 4 people. They sat opposite each other in pairs. Xiao Yunju, Duan Li, and Duan Li each took 3 seats. Xiao Yunju and Duan Li sat opposite each other, while Duan Yi sat beside Ce. When Yunjin walked in, there were no more seats. Xiaoya, let me carry you. When Yunjin saw this, she planned to walk towards Duanya. She even reached out her hand as she spoke. When Yunjin walked in, she happened to pass by Ce. Just as she reached out her hand to carry Duanya to sit on her lap, Ce suddenly reached out and pulled Yunjin over. When Yunjin was scooped up by Ce like that, the force of his scooping was strong because she was standing in the corridor. It was as if he brought her over directly. Hence, when Yunjin was pulled over, she lost her balance and sat on Ce's lap. Yunjin was suddenly pulled onto Ce's lap. But was suddenly pressed against Ce. At that moment, she could even feel a certain part of Ce's body expanding and pressing against her indescribable part. Yunjin's face flushed red, especially when Xiao Yunju and the other two were still having fun and did not notice what was happening. It felt as if she was having an affair with Ce. Xiao Yunju and the other two were having fun stepping on the pedals and did not notice the shocking scene of Yunjin sitting on Ce's lap. In front of the 3 children, Yunjin was blushing. She struggled but was held down by Ce. When Yunjin struggled, a certain part of the girl's body was pressed against a certain part of his, rubbing left and right. Ce nearly could not hold himself back. Xiao Jian, don't move. Ce's fair and slender hand was placed on Yunjin's beautiful thighs. Yunjin was wearing a pair of shorts that ended just below her knees today. Due to the hot weather, her pants were thin. Ce's hand was on her thighs, and a certain part of his body was pressed against her. Yunjin felt like she had never encountered anything more exciting than today in her entire life. Especially when there were 3 little kids playing around them. When they got off the boat, Yunjin's legs were still trembling. She admitted that she did not struggle when they were on the boat just now, but she dared not exert all her weight on Ce's thighs, especially when her lower body was pressed against him. It was almost 7 in the evening when they got off the boat. Yunjin planned to bring Xiao Yunju and the other 2 home. Just as they stepped out of the amusement park, Yunjin saw that Ce had sent Imo-san to pick them up. Once they were in the car, Yunjin saw Ce calling Snow Eagle. Chapter 10:27. Once Ce was done, Snow Eagle did not know what was going on, but it had always obeyed Ce's orders. Ce hung up right after Shuang agreed. Yunjin, who was in the car, narrowed her eyes, knowing that Ce was taking revenge for her. Destroying the amusement park's investors' shares was the same as destroying the new project that Hua Yun's husband's company had recently launched. It would at least cause Hua Yun's husband to lose a huge sum of money. It was not enough to ruin his reputation, but it would be enough to give him a headache in the near future. Imo-san drove steadily. Xiao Yunju, Duanling Tian, and Duanling Tian seemed to be tired from playing in the car. The 3 of them seemed to have infected each other as they dozed off in the car at the same time. Yunjin knew that the 3 of them must be tired from playing today, so she let Ce help her to rest Xiao Yunju's head while she rested her head on Duan Li and Duanya's. When they got home, Yunjin moved Xiao Yunju, Duanling Tian, and Duanling Tian back to their respective bedrooms. Yunjin was exhausted after playing for the entire afternoon and night. It was only 8 o'clock when she got home. Although she had to wake up for school the next day, Yunjin was in no hurry to sleep. On the other hand, Hua Yun brought her son, Hu Xiang, home in a huff and shoved her son to the nanny in exasperation. She was so infuriated by Yun Jian that she did not even bother to look at her son as she stomped upstairs. Before Hua Yun entered her husband's study, she heard him talking to someone on his phone. Hu Chaochuan's tone was extreme. What? Someone important is messing with us. Explain it to me. What do you mean the amusement park plan is going to be ruined? I've invested 1 billion yuan in Longmen City's amusement park. How can it be gone just like that? Find out who did it for me. After shouting his last words, Hu Chaochuan threw his phone away. From the ferocious expression on Hu Chaochuan's face, one could tell that he was in a very bad mood. In 1999, 1 billion was equivalent to half of Hu Chaochuan's family fortune. The project that he had just invested in was suddenly hacked. Moreover, this project had cost all of Hu Chaochuan's efforts. Hu Chaochuan's expression at this moment was simply uglier than if he had eaten dog shit. It was true that Hua Yun was a graceful and elegant woman. However, Hua Yun was not smart. Even though she could see that Hu Chaochuan's face was terrifyingly dark, she still wanted to approach him. Hubby, what's wrong? Why were you so angry just now? Hua Yun gently brought a fruit platter from downstairs and leaned over. Just as she walked over and placed the fruit platter in front of Hu Chaochuan, Hu Chaochuan pushed it away. The fruits in the fruit platter rolled to the ground and slid far away. Scram! Did I tell you to come up? On the surface, Hu Chaochuan appeared to be very gentle to Hua Yun. However, if he really encountered something difficult, he would simply treat Hua Yun as a punching bag. Hua Yun felt that the only thing she could brag about in this life was marrying a rich husband like Hu Chaochuan. Hua Yun wanted to pretend to be a very virtuous wife in front of Hu Chaochuan. So she went to Hu Chaochuan even after she was scolded. Chaochuan, what's wrong with you? Is there something wrong with your business? It's all right. I'm here with you. Before Hua Yun could finish her sentence, Hu Chaochuan pushed her away. Hu Chaochuan, who had called Hua Yun baby in front of Yun Jian before, did not even treat Hua Yun as a human when he was frustrated. Chapter 1028. As Hu Chaochuan spoke, he glared at Hua Yun. His behavior was a stark contrast to Hu Chaochuan, who called Hua Yun baby in front of outsiders. Even so, Hua Yun was not mad at all, because Hu Chaochuan was her ATM. If she left Hu Chaochuan now, she was nothing. F***CK. Hu Chaochuan growled and slammed all the books on the desk onto the floor. With this slap, a few books hit Hua Yun's body. One of the books even hit Hua Yun's forehead hard, causing a big bump to form on the spot. Hua Yun clenched her teeth in pain, but she dared not utter a word in the end. The only thing she had left was Hu Chaochuan, because Hu Chaochuan's money was the only thing she could show off in front of outsiders. Therefore, Hua Yun could only endure Hu Chaochuan's violence at home and be an envied rich lady outside. This was Hua Yun's current living situation. The next day, Yun Jian went to school as usual. Once the 3-day holiday of Labor Day was over, Yun Jian's life returned to normal. The 3-day holiday of Labor Day could be considered Yun Jian's last long break in junior high school. Once May was over, the senior high school entrance examination would begin in late June. What awaited everyone in the end was the yearning high school life. As for what kind of school they could get into and which school they would go to, it all depended on the senior high school entrance examination in late June. Jian, sob, I'm getting moldy at home. I can finally go back to school and stay with you every day. I'm so excited. Just as Yin Jian returned to school, Chun Sini pounced on her. Yin Jian did not avoid her, but allowed Chun Sini to hug her. Chun Sini was finally back to school after recuperating at home for so long. To be honest, Chun Sini was the person whom Yun Jian and her friends were looking forward to the most in school. Initially, she thought that she would not be able to meet any other friends other than Lu Fian after leaving Xinjiang town, but she did not expect to meet Chun Sini. There was also Zhang Xiaofeng and the rest. Let go, it's time for class. Although she was a little emotional, Yun Jian pressed her lips together and told Chun Sini nonchalantly, "Hee, I see. I know you're excited too, Jian Jian." Chun Sini hugged Yun Jian's hand coquettishly. It was only when the morning bell rang that Chun Sinny let go of Yun Jin's hand. There was a night self-study session on Tuesday. It was 8 o'clock in the evening. In addition, Yun Jin and the girls were about to take their high school entrance exams, so the evening self-study session was usually dragged to class by the respective subject teachers. In the end, it would even drag on for more than 10 minutes. By the time school was over, most of the day and boarding students from the other grades had already left. Zhang Xiaofeng still had to go to the field for some exercise after the evening self-study session. So, Yun Jian and Chun Sinny walked out of the school gate first. The night breeze was rather chilly. Chun Sinny stayed by Yun Jian's side, holding Yun Jian's hand as they turned a corner to go home. Just as they turned the corner, Yun Jian felt that something was off. "Ha, bros, it's this chick's boyfriend who kicked me hard at the amusement park yesterday." Yun Jian recognized the leader of a group of people who were walking toward them at first glance. The leader was Yang Katie's boyfriend, Yu Hui, who refused to apologize for stepping on Duan Li yesterday. Currently, Yu Hui was leading a group of more than 20 teenagers with Yang Kai-dai in his arms. There were also some teenagers who came to watch the show, surrounding Yun Jian and Chun Sinny. From the looks of it, it was obvious that Yu Hui and his men were here to cause trouble. Chapter 10:29. Yu Hui was indeed here to cause trouble. After being kicked by Ce yesterday, he felt like his internal organs were about to be destroyed. To Yu Hui, he had never suffered such humiliation in his life. However, considering that Ce was too strong, he took his girlfriend, Yang Kai-dai, and ran away first. If he couldn't win, he would run away. This was Yu Hui's habit. Of course, he buried yesterday's incident in his heart. After being kicked so ruthlessly, how could Yu Hui let it go? Luckily, Yu Hui asked his brothers to investigate and finally found out that Yun Jian was studying at Longmen Yizhong High School. Yu Hui was amazed at how powerful his influence was. He was actually able to find Yun Jian's school in such a short period of time. At the same time, he didn't forget how Yun Jian dealt with Yang Kai-dai yesterday. It seemed like this girl had some skills too. Hence, Yu Hui took advantage of the fact that Ce wasn't around today to bring his 20 brothers and planned to intercept Yun Jian here. 20 people against one girl. He didn't believe that they would lose. Yu Hui's group of school hooligans, if they were bullied by anyone, even if it was just a little bit, they would make a big fuss out of it, as if they were going to die. Today, Yu Hui brought 20 people to surround Yun Jian and teach her a lesson. "Yo, Yu Hui, I didn't expect these two girls to be so pretty." Huh. The group of 20 hooligans surrounded Yun Jian and Chun Sinny in a corner. One of them was dressed like a hooligan and had a yellow mohawk hairstyle. He sized up Yun Jian and Chun Sinny from the corner of his eyes. He looked as if he wanted to see Yun Jian and Chun Sinny naked. "Brother Haitian, it was this damned woman who framed me yesterday. She even slapped my beautiful face until it was swollen. You have to take revenge for your younger sister." Yang Kai-dai also stood up and covered her face as she spoke. Looking at Yang Katie's pitiful expression, it was as if she was really the victim. The brother Haitian that Yang Kai-dai mentioned was the young man with the yellow mohawk. The young man's name was Wang Haitian, and he was the most powerful one among the 20 or so punks. Yang Kai-dai also got to know this group of gangsters who she thought were very powerful because she was dating Yu Hui. It was also because of this group of people that Yang Kai-dai was so arrogant to the outside world. That was because she felt that she had a backer. They actually dared to bully our little sister Kai-dai. Of course, I will help you teach them a lesson. Wang Haitian walked up to Yun Jian and Chun Sinny like a ruffian and sized them up with narrowed eyes. Not only were the 20 over brothers that Yu Hui had brought with him, there were also some people who came to watch the show after hearing that there was going to be a gang fight. The people around them were mostly students. However, when they saw Yun Jian being surrounded by Wang Haitian, Yu Hui and the rest, they all shook their heads and sighed. It seemed like the two girls who were surrounded were done for today. The students around them were not from Yun Jian's school, but from Wang Haitian and Yu Hui's school. Therefore, none of them knew that Yun Jian was Team Monarch's slashing god. At that moment, Wang Haitian was looking at Yun Jian's voluptuous breasts with perverted eyes. So beautiful. There was actually such a beautiful girl in this world. Little girl, are you scared? If you let me touch your breasts, I'll let you go. How about that? Wang Haitian put forward such shameless words. As he spoke, he even whistled, pretending to be very domineering. How do you want to die? Chapter 10:30. The people standing around had thought that Yun Jian would beg for mercy, lose her face from fright, or hug Chun Sini in fright and cry out what to do. This was how a normal girl would react when faced with such a situation. But what about Yun Jian? She didn't follow Wang Haitian's words. Instead, she asked Wang Haitian, "How do you want to die? Are you kidding me?" The current situation was that Yun Jian was surrounded by Yu Hui, Wang Haitian, and the rest, and they were about to gang up on her. She was a girl, but not only was she not afraid, she even looked at Wang Haitian and the rest and said such words. Wasn't this asking for death? It was fine if Yun Jian wasn't afraid, but why didn't the girl standing beside Yun Jian have any sense of fear? Chun Sini was standing beside Yun Jian, but just like Yun Jian, she didn't show any signs of fear in front of Wang Haitian and the rest. Little girl, don't try to be brave. You won't die if I touch you. I'll touch you gently, and I'll let you go after that. How about that? Wang Haitian was mesmerized by Yun Jian's beauty, and he didn't even have the intention to avenge Yu Hui and Yang Kai Dai. At this moment, his entire heart was on Yun Jian. Such a beauty made him want to conquer her from the bottom of his heart. Wang Haitian, I was the one who found this beauty. Why are you the only one who can touch her? Yu Hui saw that Wang Haitian wanted to monopolize Yun Jian, and he panicked. He didn't even care about his own girlfriend, and opened his mouth to say these words. Yu Hui's words made Yang Katie's eyes widen. Yu Hui, you actually had this kind of idea? You even said that you're going to avenge me tonight? You don't, my baby. I'm torturing her because I want to avenge you. Yu Hui realized that he had said something wrong, and he immediately changed his words. Although Yu Hui's explanation was rather far-fetched, Yang Kai Dai turned around unhappily and pouted her lips. After making an angry face, she didn't say anything else. It was only then that Yu Hui turned his attention back to Yun Jian. Just as Yu Hui turned his head around, he suddenly heard the surrounding students exclaim in surprise. Oh my God, this girl. She actually carries a knife with her. Yu Hui's attention was attracted by the noise. He turned around in surprise and saw Yun Jian pulling out a butterfly knife from her pocket. With a swift flick of her hand, the butterfly knife was caught in Yun Jian's palm. Seeing Yun Jian's proficient posture with a knife, everyone present was slightly stunned. In the next second, they heard Yun Jian's lips curl up. Her red lips moved up and down slightly, and the hand holding the butterfly knife tightened. Then, she pointed the blade of the butterfly knife at Wang Haitian and the others. Don't talk nonsense. You want to gang up on me, right? Get your weapons and come at me together. I don't have time to talk nonsense with you bunch of trash. The moment Yun Jian whipped out the butterfly knife was enough to send chills down people's spines. After all, she was a girl. How could she carry a knife with her? However, when Yun Jian finished speaking, the group of people led by Wang Haitian were dumbfounded. What did this girl say? She wanted all of them to come at her together? She even said that they were trash? Could it be that she wanted to fight with them all by herself? Was this a joke? Just her alone? Chapter 10:31. Yun Jian strode forward. She lifted one of her legs and kicked Wang Haitian's abdomen, who was looking at her wretchedly. Wang Haitian's eyes were fixed on Yun Jian, and Yun Jian's movements were swift and violent. In the next moment, Yun Jian's leg had already kicked Wang Haitian's abdomen. Yun Jian had no intention of going easy on this kick. At the same time, Yun Jian waved the butterfly knife at Wang Haitian's chest twice. In the next moment, Wang Haitian was sent flying by Yun Jian's kick. The moment Wang Haitian was sent flying, everyone turned their attention to him. They saw Wang Haitian fly a few meters away after being kicked in the abdomen by Yun Jian. After Wang Haitian fell to the ground with a plop, everyone realized that Wang Haitian's clothes had been torn by Yun Jian. Yun Jian seemed to put away the knife on purpose. The tip of the knife didn't hurt Wang Haitian's skin, but everyone saw Wang Haitian fall to the ground. The front of his clothes had been cut by the blade. Wang Haitian's clothes had been cut by the knife, forming a big X. Wang Haitian's clothes were cut into an X shape by the knife. This scene caused everyone present to panic and be stunned. But at the same time, when everyone thought of this, they didn't forget one thing. This X had been cut by Yun Jian with a knife in her hand. This could also be seen from the side. Yun Jian's knife skills were amazing. Just as everyone was thinking this, Yun Jian had already taken a big step forward. Her jade-like legs on the ground suddenly jumped, and she jumped into the air. Then, she lifted her legs and kicked the chests of the two brothers standing behind Wang Haitian. Wang Haitian had just been sent flying. Everyone was dumbfounded. How could they care about anything else? However, at this moment, Yun Jian lifted her leg and kicked the two brothers behind Wang Haitian. At the same time, she waved the butterfly knife, her hands and feet moving in a continuous stream. Following that, Yun Jian wandered among the 20-odd people Wang Haitian had brought with him. Wherever she went, a bunch of them collapsed. In less than half a minute, it was so fast that this group of people didn't even have time to react. The surrounding students who were watching the show saw Yun Jian ruthlessly kick the last one, Yu Hui. When Yu Hui was sent flying, Yun Jian's footsteps followed closely. She waited for Yu Hui to fall to the ground before she ruthlessly kicked Yu Hui's abdomen. Then, the butterfly knife in Yun Jian's hand landed on Yu Hui's neck. When they recovered from their shock and turned to look at where Yun Jian had passed by, they saw that each of the hooligans who were sprawled on the floor had an X slashed across their chests. This X was so neat that it was as if it was perfectly carved out by a knife. All of this, without a doubt, hinted at how precise Yun Jian's knife skills were. She was so precise that she didn't seem like a middle school girl at all. In just half a minute, she kicked more than 20 people to the ground at the same time and drew a big X on the front of each of their clothes. This wasn't something an ordinary junior high school girl could do. At this moment, Yun Jian was stepping on Yu Hui's abdomen. The pressure was so great that Yu Hui couldn't breathe. She tilted her head slightly and raised her beautiful eyebrows. Then, she moved the knife closer to Yu Hui's neck and sneered, "Are you trying to deliver yourself to me so that I can kill you?" Her words were cold, and her eyes carried a luster that no one dared to underestimate. At this moment, Wang Haitian, Yu Hui, and the rest who were on the ground felt fear from the bottom of their hearts. Before they could even make a move, they were already subdued by Yun Jian. What kind of speed was this? Chapter 1032. Yun Jian's words shocked everyone present, especially Yu Hui, who was being stepped on by Yun Jian. Although Yu Hui usually liked to act cool in front of girls, when he was being threatened with a knife and stepped on, he was scared out of his wits. Yu Hui swallowed a mouthful of saliva before he spoke in a trembling voice. "Please take the knife away. All of this is not my fault. It's Yang Kai-dai. She was the one who threatened me. If you want to kill, then kill her. It has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with me." Yui was really scared. At the same time, he suddenly hated his girlfriend, Yang Kai-dai, to the extreme for instigating all these things. If Yang Kai-dai didn't say that he would take revenge for her as a man, he wouldn't have brought his brothers here to look for Yun Jian, and he wouldn't have been held by Yun Jian with a knife. Yu Hui thought that with more than 20 of his brothers, how could they not be able to deal with Yun Jian? Unless she wasn't an ordinary person. She was an assassin in the movies, an agent. But he was wrong. He was ridiculously wrong. She actually managed to subdue all of them by herself. Yu Hui, you actually? As Yu Hui's girlfriend, Yang Katie's heart trembled when she heard such words from Yu Hui's mouth. At a critical moment, her boyfriend actually said, "It's not my fault. If you want to kill, then kill her." Yang Kai-dai couldn't breathe for a long time after hearing Yu Hui's heartless words. "Are you done?" Yun Jian raised her voice, raised her eyebrows, and sneered. When Yun Jian shouted, Yu Hui was so scared that he immediately shut his mouth. Yun Jian smirked coldly and sneered at Yu Hui again. No matter what, You brought so many people to surround me today. This is the truth. If I don't give you a gift in return, it would be rude. As Yin Jian spoke, she increased the force on her feet. Yu Hui, who was being stepped on by Yin Jian, almost spat out a mouthful of white foam. I beg you, let me go. Yu Hui's eyes were only left with a pleading look. Only then did he realize Yin Jian's cruelty. Just as Yin Jian moved slightly, and the butterfly knife in her hand was getting closer and closer to Yu Hui's neck, no one dared to stop her. Over there. Damn it. The people from other schools want to gang up on our Yin Jian. Did they ask for our permission? Let's go. Let's kill those people. How dare they bully Yin Jian? A loud voice was heard, and not long after, Zhang Xiaofeng and Zhang Jian led a group of people and rushed over from the corner. This group of people was no doubt the students from Longmen First High School. When they heard that there was a gang fight and the target was Yin Jian, Zhang Xiaofeng and Zhang Jian led a group of students who idolized Yin Jian to the core and rushed over like headless flies. Master! When Zhang Xiaofeng and the rest saw Yin Jian stepping on Yu Hui, and Wang Haitian and the rest who were kicked to the ground by Yin Jian getting up from the ground, they led a group of people and rushed towards Wang Haitian and the rest like a swarm of bees. Some of the boys from Longmen First High School who came to help Yin Jian had even picked up their backpacks and were ready to go home. When they heard that Team Monarch's slashing god was surrounded by a group of people, they threw their backpacks down and rushed over. How dare they touch their idol? They must have a death wish. Wang Haitian and the rest were dumbfounded. Were their eyes playing tricks on them? Yin Jian's popularity in Longmen First High School was so high. Why? Just as Wang Haitian thought of this, one of them lifted Wang Haitian's head and punched him in the head. How dare you gang up on Team Monarch's slashing god? Go to hell. The person said as he punched Wang Haitian. While being punched, Wang Haitian and the rest clearly heard a few words. Team Monarchs, slashing god, Yin Jian. Chapter 1033. When Wang Haitian and the rest heard that Yin Jian was Team Monarch's slashing god, their eyeballs nearly fell out of their sockets. Team Monarch's slashing god. She was now a legend in Longmen City and even the entire Zhe province. Many of the boys in the school had even made slashing god their goal and idol. It was no exaggeration to say that slashing god was an existence that could be heard but not touched to Wang Haitian and the rest. When Wang Haitian, Yu Hui, and the rest of them nearly fainted from the shock when they heard that such a legendary figure was the same person who had taken down all 20 of them single-handedly just now. They were slashing god's fans too. The group that Zhang Xiaofeng and Zhang Jian had brought along were ready to go home after school, but once they heard that something had happened to Yin Jian, all of them dropped their bags and ran over. They were even more aggressive now, as they rushed up and subdued Wang Haitian, Yu Hui, Yang Kai Dai, and the rest of the group. Yin Jian's foot that was stepping on Yu Hui loosened as well. She narrowed her eyes and did not need to do anything in the end. Zhang Xiaofeng was Yin Jian's junior brother, and this was a well-known fact in Longmen Junior High. Therefore, with Zhang Xiaofeng commanding, none of the boys who came to help Yin Jian were disgruntled. They rushed up one by one and pressed Wang Haitian, Yu Hui, and the rest to the ground with their advantage in numbers. Humph! Master, they wanted to gang up on you. Today I, your son-in-law, will kill these idiots for you. As Zhang Xiaofeng spoke, he gestured at Longmen Junior High's classmates who came to help Yin Jian. Don't go soft. Give them a good beating. How dare they bully my master? They can forget about going back in peace. As Zhang Xiaofeng spoke, the boys from Longmen Junior High responded loudly. Wang Haitian, Yu Hui, and the rest who were initially aggressive were now the ones begging for mercy. Yin Jian raised a brow. Was she so popular in school now? The sight of Zhang Xiaofeng leading his classmates to help her made Yin Jian feel like she was being protected. The feeling made Yin Jian smile from the bottom of her heart. Wang Haitian, Yu Hui, Yang Kai Dai, and the rest who had offended Yin Jian, the slashing god of Team Monarch, scrambled away when they had the chance. How would they dare seek revenge? Yin Jian was the slashing god of Team Monarch. Watching them run away, the boys from Longmin Junior High School who came to help Yunjian beat up Wang Haitian cheered and ran to Yunjian to worship her. It was as if they were meeting their idols, and the extravagance was indescribable. Where is it? These little bastards actually dare to fight in front of me. At this time, a teacher on duty heard about the group fight here and ran over with a student who complained in an aggressive manner. When Teacher Zhou, who was on duty, saw the crowd surrounding Yunjian and could not contain their excitement, he rushed up with a stick and hit the male students of Longmin Junior High School who admired Yunjian one by one, gritting his teeth in resentment. "You little brats, how dare you gang up on a female classmate? Huh?" As he said that, the teacher on duty angrily knocked on each of the boys' heads. The boys present felt extremely wronged. Teacher Zhou, who was almost 50 years old and had a strong sense of justice, was so angry that he could barely breathe. Chapter 1034. Teacher Zhou on duty was a very righteous little old man. He was not even 50 years old, but his hair was already white. In order to cover up his white hair, he even dyed his hair stylishly black. At this moment, he was holding a small wooden stick in his hand. This wooden stick was originally broken off from the tree. When he came here, he heard that a group of male students were fighting here. He was simply furious, so he broke off a branch from the tree and ran over here aggressively. Today was his shift, and they actually dared to fight in front of the school gate. This group of little bastards, none of them knew how powerful he was as a male tiger. That's right, this teacher on duty was the teaching director of Longmin First High School. His surname was Zhang, and Director Zhang was usually very fierce. He was a very fierce little old man. Moreover, he liked to go to extremes, so the students in school gave him a nickname, Male Tiger. It meant that once Director Zhang caught something, he would not let it go no matter what. He had to find out who was right and who was wrong. Just like the tiger, he would not let go of the prey that he had set his eyes on. Therefore, the nickname Male Tiger was formed just like that. Director Zhang also knew that his classmates had given him this nickname. Not only was he not angry, as long as his classmates did not make any mistakes, he would even joke about the nickname that his classmates gave him. It could be said that Director Zhang was a teacher who was strict and could take jokes. He was a teacher who could play and joke with his classmates. Although Director Zhang was quite scary when he was fierce, his classmates still liked him very much. There was one thing that was very admirable about Director Zhang, and that was that he felt that he should protect the vulnerable. In school, girls were also considered one of the vulnerable groups by Director Zhang. After all, it was a fact that girls' physical strength was not as good as boys. Hence, when he saw a large group of boys surrounding Yunjian, Director Zhang concluded without thinking that this was the rhythm of a large group of boys wanting to bully a weak girl. Hence, Director Zhang was so angry that he casually broke a branch and rushed over to hit the boys one by one. The result? When he angrily hit all the boys, this girl actually said, "It's not their fault. I was the one who started the fight." Really? She was the one who started the gang fight? Director Zhang was stunned on the spot. He looked at Yunjian in a daze, holding the small wooden stick in his hand. He looked like he couldn't believe it. Getting into a gang fight would be punished by the school. Yunjian knew that as well. What's more, Zhang Xiaofeng had brought this group of people because of him. Yunjian, on the other hand, had always been protective of her shortcomings. If someone respected her, she would return the favor tenfold. This was her principle. Where is he? What if they didn't bully you? Then that group of people, what about them? Director Zhang was not someone who could be easily fooled. He looked around and said to Yunjian, "Little girl, if you get bullied by these guys, just tell me. I guarantee that they won't dare to bully you again." Director Zhang thought that Yunjian was afraid of telling the truth because she was bullied by the boys around her, so he opened his mouth to speak. However, Director Zhang had just opened his mouth when Yunjian interrupted him. "I chased him away." As she said that, Yunjian's red lips curled up into a smile. At the same time, she gently swung the butterfly knife. This butterfly knife was smoothly closed by her and then placed in her trouser pocket. "What? Chased away by you?" Director Zhang obviously did not believe Yun Jian and was about to retort when Yun Jian interrupted him. Just as he was about to say something, the voice of the student who was watching the show but didn't participate in it came from the side. This student was obviously not from Longmen First High School. Chapter 1035. The words of a student who spoke reached Director Zhang's ears without any hindrance. Director Zhang's expression changed from disbelief to shock and horror. What did this student just say? This girl, Yun Jian, whom he thought was being bullied by the boys, defeated more than 20 boys all by herself? How could such a miraculous thing happen to a female student? Director Zhang was completely stunned. However, at that moment, after the student who was watching the show spoke, another student followed suit. How could that group of people be her match? Didn't they say she's Team Monarch's slashing god? She's the slashing god. Even if there were a few hundred of them, they still wouldn't be a match for her, let alone those 20 or so people from before. She's from the military. It was already shocking enough for Director Zhang, but after the student who followed suit, Director Zhang was even more terrified. What? The Team Monarch's slashing god, who was the talk of the town recently, was actually the girl whom he thought was being bullied? Director Zhang was a genuine old urchin. He had heard of Team Monarch's slashing god before, but he did not know that she was in their school. Although the incident was spreading like wildfire in Longmen First High School, Director Zhang was unaware of it. Yun Jian curled her lips slightly. She was not afraid of being punished at all. She merely raised a brow and looked at Director Zhang. So this incident has nothing to do with them. Yun Jian seized the opportunity to speak again. When Yun Jian said that, the boys present were very touched. Could it be that Yun Jian wanted to shoulder all the responsibility alone? Although Yun Jian was the cause of the incident, everyone did make a move in the end. If they were caught in a gang fight by the teachers, they would be severely punished. So can we disperse now? Yun Jian's red lips curled up slightly as she spoke to Director Zhang again. As she spoke, her eyes flashed with a different color when she looked at Director Zhang. In 1999, there are not many cases of girls fighting. Girls in this era were very reserved, especially when it came to fighting with boys. Even in the current era, such cases were rare. Director Zhang had been a director for so many years and had never encountered such an incident. The corners of Director Zhang's mouth twitched. Because of the shock just now and the fact that he was a little confused at the moment, he paused for a moment and then said in a daze, Oh, all right, let's disperse. At that moment, Yun Jian's eyes were sizing up Director Zhang. No one noticed that Yun Jian was looking at Director Zhang and even hypnotizing him. At that moment, hypnotism was the most effective. Looking at the dazed Director Zhang, everyone present was a little stunned. What? Based on Director Zhang's personality as the male tiger, shouldn't he fly into a rage and ask Yun Jian which class she was from? Shouldn't he be giving her marks at the registration counter? When Yun Jian heard that, she smirked and turned sideways. Just as she was about to wave Chun Sinny, Zhang Xiaofeng, and Zhang Jian to leave with her, Director Zhang interrupted her. That classmate. Director Zhang spoke again. The students who were dumbfounded earlier had goosebumps all over again. What? Was Director Zhang going to settle scores with Yun Jian again? Classmate, be careful on your way home. Okay. Unexpectedly, Director Zhang did not mention any punishment at all. The people standing around were all dumbfounded. Director Zhang had always been an impartial person. Why did he not punish Yun Jian today? He just let Yun Jian go. In the end, the students could not figure out. Hence, they unanimously concluded that it was because Yun Jian was Team Monarch's slashing god. Chapter 1036. At this moment, Yun Jian had already left with Zhang Xiaofeng and the others. Everyone was left standing in their original positions. Yun Jian had just left with Zhang Xiaofeng, Chun Sinny, and Zhang Jian. They were walking on the side of a busy road. Zhang Xiaofeng couldn't wait to ask Yun Jian excitedly, Master, did you just use hypnotism? Zhang Xiaofeng actually saw through it? Yun Jian narrowed her eyes, but she wasn't surprised. Back then, Yun Jian had used hypnotism in front of Zhang Xiaofeng, Chun Sini, and Ling Yichen. Later on, Liu Haoze even discovered it. At that time, Zhang Xiaofeng and Chun Sini didn't ask her what was going on, but Yun Jian could feel that Zhang Xiaofeng and Chun Sini were actually very interested in this matter. Yun Jian didn't intend to hide it from Zhang Xiaofeng. She tilted her head slightly and glanced at Zhang Xiaofeng, then nodded. She had indeed used hypnosis on Director Zhang just now to make him muddle-headed and forget that he had been in a group fight with others. After all, what happened just now wasn't her fault. It was Wang Haitian and Yu Hui who brought people to find her. Yun Jian didn't want the school to make it seem like a big deal because of what happened just now. She didn't want to be criticized and punished in front of the entire school. She wasn't afraid of being punished, but she simply didn't want trouble. Huh, Grandmaster, you actually know the legendary hypnotism. Although Zhang Jian was chubby and strong, he reacted quickly. When he spoke, the corner of his mouth twitched slightly. Zhang Jian didn't know that Yun Jian knew hypnotism. You brat, my master knows a lot of things. You're making a big fuss. Embarrassing. Zhang Xiaofeng rebuked Zhang Jian, then chuckled. Zhang Xiaofeng didn't beg Yun Jian to teach him hypnotism because he knew that Yun Jian would teach him everything she could. Of course, she knew what she couldn't teach or couldn't teach. It was because of Zhang Xiaofeng's personality that Yun Jian made an exception to accept him as her disciple. Finally, they parted ways at the intersection. Time passed in the blink of an eye. After May Day, Yun Jian returned to her normal life. The beginning of May passed, Qin Yiru and Gu Yunjian's wedding day. On May 21st, 1999, Qin Yiru and Gu Yunjian's wedding. Although it was Qin Yiru and Gu Yunjian's second marriage, it was the first time they felt the excitement before their wedding. In the past, no matter if it was when Qin Yiru and Yun Gang were forced to marry, or when Gu Junjian was forced to marry Hua Yun, they didn't feel this way. At that time, they felt as if someone who had nothing to do with them had gotten married. However, a few days before the wedding, Qin Yiru and Gu Junjian were extremely nervous. Seeing that the wedding day was approaching, Gu Junjian had already booked a hotel. The wedding would be held at the hotel on May 18th, 1999. There were 3 days before the wedding. Qin Yiru was staying at home. Every day felt like a year. On one hand, she was looking forward to her wedding with Gu Junjian because she knew that Gu Junjian was sincere to her. On the other hand, she was a little scared. After a failed marriage, all women would have the same fear of marriage as Qin Yiru. Even if they hadn't experienced their second marriage, many women would have the same fear before marriage. They were afraid that the man would treat them badly. These days, Yun Jian asked for leave and stayed at home to accompany Qin Yiru. Chapter 1037. Xiao Jian, there are still 3 days before the wedding. My heart can't stop pounding. I wonder if the days ahead will be comfortable after marrying your Uncle Gu. Qin Yiru held Yun Jian's hand as her heart raced. Normal women generally had a slight premarital phobia, but some people didn't show it so obviously. Before the wedding, most people would have some concerns and more or less felt a sense of fear from the bottom of their hearts. In serious cases, they would even start to dread getting married. Qin Yiru had experienced a failed marriage, so it was normal for her to have such thoughts now. Mom, Uncle Gu is sincere to you. You don't have to worry about anything now. What you should do the most is to have a good sleep. I'll take care of everything else. Yun Jian patted Qin Yiru's palm comfortingly and pressed her lips into a faint smile. I've sent out all the invitations. Mom, rest well now and wait for the 21st of May to put on your beautiful wedding gown. Yun Jian had settled everything. Hearing Yun Jian's words, Qin Yiru's uneasiness calmed down instantly. Yiru, Officer Gu is a good man. Trust my judgment. Dong Ruan, who had heard Qin Yiru and Yun Jian's conversation, walked in from the door. Dong Ruan was a high-ranking official and was busy with work. Due to Qin Yiru's impending wedding, she had put aside everything she was busy with and applied for a week's leave, planning to accompany Qin Yiru through the wedding. When Qin Yiru had dropped out of high school, she could not do anything for Qin Yiru. Now that Qin Yiru had finally found her happiness, as a friend, she should stay by her side. It was not too late to make up for what she did not have the chance to do in the past. This time, she wanted her best friend, who had accompanied her since she was a teenager to her middle age, to get married in a grand manner. However, why was her Yiru getting married again? She was not marrying a bastard like Yin Gang either. She could not bear to part with her. Dong Ruan swallowed the jealousy in her heart and walked over to hug Qin Yiru. Yiru, if you dare to be unhappy, I promise I'll break Gu Yunjian's legs. After decades, Dong Ruan finally expressed her thoughts. Although her words were a little extreme, Qin Yiru knew that Dong Ruan would not really break Gu Yunjian's legs. She was just trying to make herself happy in another way. Even if the mountains collapsed and the earth cracked, there would always be such a person behind you, silently protecting you. She is not your relative, nor is she your biological parent, but she cares for you from the bottom of her heart. They have been good sisters for decades and have been friends for a lifetime. This was a friendship that could be brought to the grave. Looking at Dong Ruan and Qin Yiru, Yun Jian smiled as well. It was then that Yun Jian's phone rang. A call at this time was simply ruining the atmosphere. Yun Jian hung up the call and walked out of the house. On her way out, she closed the door behind her. Then, she took out her phone again and dialed the number. When she called back, Yun Jian was already walking down the stairs in her flats. When she was halfway down the stairs, the call was picked up. Sister Jian, it's Diane. We're in Longmen City. Where are you? The voice of Diane, the leader of the Kosha mercenaries intelligence team, came from the other end of the phone. Chapter 1038. Yun Jian had sent out quite a number of invitations in the name of Kosha mercenaries. With Gusha mercenaries' identity, how could these people not come when they had sent out invitations to influential figures in the world? Kosha mercenaries. Kosha mercenaries were an existence that could stand shoulder to shoulder with an Han group. Sending out invitations in the name of Kosha mercenaries to influential figures in the world was not a question of whether they would come. Even if they were not invited, the influential figures in the world would rush to Longmen City at the speed of a rocket when they heard about it. If someone were to ask around, they would know that the large hotels and five-star hotels in Longmen City were fully booked. Generally, those who were qualified to stay in a five-star hotel were usually the rich and wealthy. The average citizen did not have the financial ability or the need to choose to stay in expensive five-star hotels. Therefore, five-star hotels would usually have leftover rooms. These days, however, these five-star hotels were not only fully booked, but there were also many foreigners. Yun Jian was well aware of this. There were already people who rushed to Longmen City in case she was late for the invitations she sent out. It was the first time Annie and the others had come to Longmen City, so when Yun Jian received the call, she went back to her room to change into a clean white shirt and slim-fit pants before she went out. He was coming back from an Hun group the next day. Planned to take a long break after she was done with her work in the organization. Yun Jian had Annie and the others go to Longmen City's East Bus Terminal while she took the bus there. Annie and the others had rushed over from the headquarters of Kosha mercenaries by bus as well. When Yun Jian saw Annie and the others, they were still standing at Longmen City's East Bus Terminal. There were only 3 of them on this trip. The one who stood at the front was a woman in her 20s with long black hair. She was beautiful and delicate. She was Diane. Diane was a ZY mixed blood. She had a head of beautiful black hair and a pair of gray eyes. She was very delicate and beautiful. The moment they saw Yun Jian, Annie and the other 2 girls ran over. Standing at the front, Annie was the first to give Yun Jian a big hug. Sister Jian. Kosha mercenaries was divided into many departments, and 3 of them were the most important. These 3 departments are the intelligence team, the assassination team, and the investigation team. Annie was the head of the intelligence team. As for the woman and man beside Annie, they were the assassination team's leader, Gue Yin, and the investigation team leader, Gue Lian. The leader of the assassination team, Gui Yin, was a woman, while the leader of the investigation team, Gui Lian, was a man. Dai Annie, Gui Yin, and Gui Lian were the leaders of Kosha mercenaries' intelligence team, assassination team, and investigation team, respectively. They were one of the important high-ranking members in the hierarchy of Kosha mercenaries. Back in Kosha mercenaries, Gui Yin and Gui Lian had met Yun Jian as well, so both of them greeted Yun Jian as Sister Jian. Right, Sister Jian, Elder Snake. Lizard and the others will only arrive in Longmen City in 2 days, Dai Annie told Yun Jian as she recalled Snake. Lizard's instruction. Yun Jian pressed her lips together before curling her lips into a smile and said after a beat, I know. Yunju's sister? At this moment, a surprised voice was heard. Yun Jian raised a brow when she heard the voice. Just as she turned around, she saw Miss Liu, who had just alighted from a city bus and was greeting her. Miss Liu was Xiao Yunju's homeroom teacher in school, and the one who had slandered Xiao Yunju back then. Chapter 1039. Yun Jian's stunning performance at Xiao Yunju's school had been witnessed by Miss Liu, as well as Xiao Yunju's classmates and parents. During the sports meet at Xiao Yunju's school, Yun Jian had killed an assassin on the spot, and the news had spread like wildfire. However, that was not the main point. The most shocking thing was Yun Jian's identity. She was an advanced special forces soldier in the military. She was Team Monarch's slashing god. An ordinary person, especially an underage girl, had actually killed someone. Miss Liu should have stayed away from her when she found out. Miss Liu should have been scared to death when she saw Yun Jian, or she might even request the school to expel Xiao Yunju, because his sister was a murderer. However, that was not the case. With the identity of an advanced special forces soldier and Team Monarch's slashing god, not only was Miss Liu not afraid of Yun Jian, she even thought that Yun Jian was the embodiment of justice. Therefore, Miss Liu walked over with a smile on her face. Sister Yunju, I didn't expect to see you here. Why? Are you here to take the bus from East Station 2? Miss Liu walked over with a smile. Her face was full of smiles as she walked over. She could not hide the flattery written all over her face. Whether it was the first time she saw Yun Jian or Xiao Yunju at the sports meet, Miss Liu had always treated Xiao Yunju and Yun Jian with disdain. The reason was simple. Miss Liu had always thought that Xiao Yunju came from a poor family. Therefore, Miss Liu had no patience for Xiao Yunju. However, it was different this time. After knowing that Yun Jian was an advanced special forces soldier, especially knowing that Yun Jian was Team Monarch's slashing god, Miss Liu's attitude towards Yun Jian and Xiao Yunju changed instantly. Yun Jian was already an advanced special forces soldier at such a young age. From this, it could be deduced that Yun Jian's future was definitely not something an ordinary person could compare with. Therefore, when Teacher Liu saw Yun Jian, she called out to her in order to get close to her. Yun Jian did not have a good impression of Xiao Yunju's homeroom teacher, Teacher Liu. She only glanced at Teacher Liu from the corner of her eyes and replied coldly, Yes, I'm here to pick up my friend. She didn't want to say anything else. So you're here to pick up friends. Teacher Liu glanced at Dai Annie, Gui Yin, and Gui Lian before nodding in satisfaction. Seeing that Yun Jian was about to leave, Teacher Liu immediately came up to her and stopped her. By the way, Sister Yunju has been doing well in school recently. If she keeps it up, it won't be a problem for her to be a good student this semester. Teacher Liu knew that parents all hoped that their children would be able to get the 3 Good Student Award. Hence, in order to get closer to Yun Jian, she used all her trump cards. Her words were filled with the intention of getting close to her. Teacher Liu was the classic, I don't care if you're down and out, but if you're rich, let's be good friends kind of person. However, what Teacher Liu did not know was that Yun Jian did not like flattery, nor did she like these fake things. It's all talk and no substance. I don't want my brother to get a fake piece of paper. Thank you. Yun Jian glanced at Teacher Liu. With that, she turned to call Dai Annie and the rest to leave. Yun Jian's words stunned Teacher Liu. Chapter 1040. Although Yun Jian was Xiao Yunju's sister, She could also be considered as half of Xiao Yunju's parent. The school had a database that registered the students' families. Back then, Teacher Lu saw that Xiao Yunju was adopted by Yunjian's family, so she looked down on Xiao Yunju. Looking at Yunjian, she was also dressed plainly. She didn't look like a rich person at all. Teacher Lu saw this, so she didn't pay much attention to Yunjian and Xiao Yunju in the beginning. She even thought of Yunjian and Xiao Yunju in her heart. If you don't have money, why are you pretending? What's there to be proud of? But when she found out about Yunjian's identity, Teacher Lu's attitude completely changed. In order to curry favor with Yunjian, Teacher Lu even wanted to give Xiao Yunju a certificate for the 3 best student awards at the end of the semester in exchange. Unfortunately, Yunjian didn't fall for this trick at all. And Yunjian's words just now were also accusing her of being a hypocrite. Teacher Lu had met parents who rejected her good intentions before, but she had never met someone like Yunjian. She actually said that she was hypocritical in a roundabout way when she rejected her. But when she saw that Yunjian was about to leave with Diani and the other 2, Teacher Lu panicked and hurriedly shouted, "Sister Yunju, I heard from Yunju that he's going to take leave next Monday, right?" Teacher Lu's shout attracted Yunjian's attention back. Yunjian narrowed her eyes and turned around. Then, she looked at Teacher Lu in the eye for the first time and said, "Yes." Seeing that Yunjian's attention was finally back, Teacher Lu put in more effort to say, "A student needs a parent's signature to apply for leave, but since we've met today, this can be waived." Today was Friday. In the morning, Xiao Yunju went to Teacher Lu to ask for a day off. As Qin Yiru's wedding was next Monday, Xiao Yunju had to ask for a day off. It was almost noon. Teacher Lu didn't have any classes in the morning, so she left the school and took the city bus to the nearby market to buy some groceries. She planned to go back to school after she was done. He cooked lunch in the teacher's dormitory. However, he didn't expect to bump into Yunjian. Teacher Lu thought, "This is fate." It was another line of flattery. Yunjian chuckled coldly. "Thank you, teacher." Yunjian's face was calm. Her calm expression touched Teacher Lu's heart. "If there's nothing important, I'll leave first. I'm in a hurry." Yunjian randomly spouted some nonsense and then turned around. Diani and the other 2 naturally followed behind Yunjian like 3 bodyguards. Teacher Lu was surprised when she saw this scene. However, when she saw that Yunjian was really about to leave, she hurriedly called out to her, "Sister Yunjian, is your mother getting married next Monday?" When a student asked for leave from a teacher, they had to give a reason. Otherwise, the teacher wouldn't agree. The teacher would even use a superior tone to curse the student for doing anything to play truant. Therefore, Xiao Yunju had developed a habit of asking for leave from Teacher Lu. After asking for leave, he would immediately give the reason so that the teacher wouldn't mistakenly think that he was asking for leave to play truant. Yes, Yunjian didn't turn around this time. She turned sideways and looked at Teacher Lu from the corner of her eyes. "Oh, I see. Coincidentally, I don't have classes next week. Sister Yunju, do you mind if I attend the wedding together?" Teacher Lu asked shamelessly. Chapter 1041. To be honest, since Ms. Lu dared to say this, it meant that she was confident that Yunjian would agree. After all, Yunjian's younger brother, Xiao Yunju, was studying in her class. If Yunjian did not agree, it would not do. Disagree? Sure, if Yunjian dared to disagree, she would catch Xiao Yunju red-handed. Most of the teachers nowadays were like this. Of course, it did not exclude the truly good ones. There were not many left who could meet a truly good teacher who was neither biased nor snobbish. If you could meet one, please cherish it. Teacher Lu's confident face made Dai Annie, Gue Yin, and Gue Lien jump in shock. It was not that Ms. Lu's actions shocked Dai Annie and the other 2. Instead, from the moment Ms. Lu greeted Yunjian until now, Dai Annie and the other 2 could clearly sense Yunjian's disgust toward Ms. Lu. That was one of the reasons. Of course, the most important reason was that Ms. Lu had clearly made Yunjian very unhappy. Yet, she was still standing here unscathed? Based on Yunjian's personality, should she not have killed Ms. Lu by now? Suddenly, she felt 3 intense gazes sizing her up. Ms. Lu turned her head slightly and saw Annie and the other 2 sizing her up without any reservations. Ms. Lu was suspicious. She even reached out and touched her face. Then, she felt around for a while before asking Annie, "What's wrong? Is there something on my face?" Since Annie and the other 2 were following behind Yunjian, Ms. Lu guessed that Annie and the other 2 must be on good terms with Yunjian. To rope in a person, one had to rope in that person's friends first. That was the most important step. Ms. Lu had wanted to build a good relationship with Annie and the other 2, but who knew that when she turned to look at Annie and the other 2 and opened her mouth to say something like that, Annie crossed her arms and turned her head sideways toward Ms. Lu. It looked like she had no intention of paying attention to Ms. Lu at all. Seeing that, Ms. Lu swallowed hard. What if Annie was the one to answer? How should she answer? She couldn't possibly tell Teacher Lu that she wasn't looking at him because there was something on his face, but because it was a miracle that he hadn't been beheaded by Yunjian after talking so much nonsense. After all, Annie was considered half Chinese. She was sure that if she said that, Teacher Lu would definitely treat her as a lunatic. Cough, cough. Huh. Miss Lu had already mastered the art of being shameless. Seeing that Annie and the others were ignoring her, she coughed a few times in an attempt to cover up the awkward atmosphere. After covering up the awkward atmosphere just now, Teacher Lu grabbed Yunjian and asked again, "Sister Yunju, it shouldn't be a problem to have one more mouth, right?" Huh. Ha! Teacher Lu said this to Yunjian in a joking tone. After she finished speaking, she even smiled symbolically. With this smile, the passers-by around the station glanced at her suspiciously. Initially, Teacher Lu wanted to talk to Yunjian in a joking manner, but she smiled. She thought that Yunjian would also laugh with her. This was an effective way of talking between adults. However, she did not expect that Yunjian had no intention of laughing with her, because she was a teacher at all. Annie and the other 2 looked at the scene before them coldly. In the end, Yunjian's slow voice was heard softly. Oh, since someone wanted to come up and be slapped in the face, of course she would not refuse. Chapter 1042. Seeing that Yunjian had agreed to let her attend the wedding, Miss Lu assumed that Yunjian had agreed to befriend her. Looking at the silver watch on her wrist, Miss Lu knew that she had classes in the afternoon since the hand were pointing to noon. Even if she wanted to get close to Yunjian, she dared not be late for class when it was time to return to school. It was a job that would affect her livelihood. Haha, Sister Yunju, you're such a good sister. Miss Lu chuckled, snapping out of her daze from looking down at her watch. Well, I have classes in the afternoon, so I have to go back and prepare for lunch. I'll be rushing to class in the afternoon. See you next Monday, Sister Yunju. Miss Lu was rather excited as she turned to leave. She had only taken 2 steps when she turned back to look at Yunjian. My son goes to kindergarten and ends school early. My husband doesn't have to go to work next Monday as well. They won't be able to make dinner if I'm not home. If there's space, can I bring my son and husband along? She was obviously begging for her son and husband to attend Qin Yiru and Gu Yunjian's wedding together. When Miss Lu heard that Qin Yiru and Gu Junjian were getting married this morning, she had asked Xiao Yunju where the wedding would be held. Xiao Yunju was actually an obedient child, so he gave her an address. Qingyun Hotel. Qingyun Hotel was a 4-star hotel recommended by Yun Yi. When Yunjian came to Longmen City from Xinjiang town for the first time, it was Su Haokol who insisted on treating her and brought Yunjian and Yun Yi to Qingyun Hotel. Yun Yi had recommended Qingyun Hotel because the food there was excellent. Compared to other 4-star and 5-star hotels, it was much more affordable. Good quality at a reasonable price was the concept of shopping nowadays. Yunjian's family could afford a 5-star hotel, of course, but Yun Yi had recommended Qingyun Hotel because the food there was delicious and to her taste buds. When Miss Lu heard from Xiao Yunju that Qin Yiru and Gu Yunjian's wedding would be held in a hotel, Qingyun Hotel, she was tempted. Qingyun Hotel was one of the few 4-star hotels in Longmen City. Although there were 5-star hotels in Longmen City, Qingyun Hotel's standard was relatively high. Qingyun Hotel's items might not be expensive among the 4-star and 5-star hotels, but it was still a hefty sum from a commoner's perspective. Why would they go to a hotel when they were getting married? Especially in this day and age, who wouldn't get married in their own home and invite their neighbors to cook a table of dishes and pass the wedding just like that? For those with better family conditions, they would hire a professional chef to cook a feast. Who would have the money to go to a hotel? It was a 4-star hotel. Take Miss Liu, for example. She had never stepped into a 4-star hotel in her entire life with her meager salary as a teacher. Therefore, when she found out that Qin Yuru and Ge Junjian were getting married at Qingyun Hotel, Miss Liu did not forget to let her husband and son join in the festivities by having a meal at a 4-star hotel. She was a teacher too. There was no way she would give Qin Yuru a red packet. This meal was a free meal. When Dai Annie, who was standing at the side, heard this, she had the urge to kill Teacher Liu. Chapter 1043. Looking at Yun Jian's smile, Miss Liu really thought that Yun Jian was welcoming of her bringing her family to the wedding. Attending a wedding was a joyous occasion after all. Moreover, Miss Liu thought that she could tell that Yun Jian had decided to accept her. Was she planning to befriend her? Miss Liu was even happier when she thought about it. She exchanged a bunch of pleasantries with Yun Jian before bidding farewell to Yun Jian. When Miss Liu left, Yun Jian did not see her asking for the location of Qin Yuru and Ge Yunjian's wedding. How was she going to attend the wedding if she did not know where it was? As smart as she was, how could Yun Jian not have guessed that Miss Liu would say something like that when they met today? It was probably because Miss Liu had gotten some information out of Xiao Yunzhu when he applied for leave from school. Yun Jian's impression of Miss Liu deepened when she said something like that to her student. Sister Jian, who is she? Why didn't you kill her? Gu Yin went up to Yun Jian to ask once Miss Liu left. When he said the word kill, Gu Yan's expression was as calm as the wind and clouds, as if he had just said something insignificant. A young man who was dressed fashionably walked past them, and was surprised to hear Gu Yan, a tall and pretty woman who could be considered a modern goddess, speak to Yun Jian without blushing or skipping a beat. Why didn't you kill her? The fashionably dressed young man took another look at Yun Jian and Gu Yan before scurrying away in fright. Were these people idiots? Gu Yan was a woman with a very hot temper, a very vicious woman. It was not surprising since she was the leader of the Kosha mercenaries assassination team. There were 3 major teams in the Kosha mercenaries, namely the intelligence team, the assassination team, and the investigation team. Gu Yin was a woman, but she was in charge of all the members of the assassination team. Actually, among these 3 groups, only Ghost Flame's assassination group was the most difficult to manage. This was because the assassination group was in charge of all the secret agents and assassins of the Kosha mercenaries. Because of this, Gu Yan's identity determined her character. Furthermore, her strength was the strongest among the 3 of them. Because I found something even more fun than killing people. Yun Jian stood sideways, the side of her face facing Gu Yan. Her slightly curved lips made the hearts of the 3 people present skip a beat. Oh, what could be more fun than killing people? Tell me, Sister Jian, let me try it too. Dai Annie's interest was piqued when she heard what Yun Jian said, so she asked quickly. Yun Jian turned her gaze back to Dai Annie. She paused for a moment before curling her lips and saying, "Guess." After saying that, she took the lead and walked forward. Diani and Ghost Flame, who were still standing on the spot, were confused. For people like Diana and Gu Yin, who had always been at the top of the world, only by killing those who made them unhappy could they feel satisfied. Yun Jian used to think so too. Therefore, whether it was the old Yun Jian or the current Dai, Annie, and Ge Yin, they all thought that the best way to deal with someone they hated was to kill them in one blow. After her rebirth, however, Yun Jian realized that the real fun was not killing someone for a moment of satisfaction, but you two don't get it, do you? If someone pisses you off and you kill them, you'll feel satisfied for a moment, but how can you take the pain when they're dead? Ha ha ha. Chapter 1044. Watching Gue Lin catch up to her, the guy was graceful, like a gentleman. Gue Yin stood where she was, thinking about what Gue Lin had said just now before she mocked him. You're such an idiot. What are you talking about? Isn't that just showing off? You're being so secretive, and you're even giving me a jingle. Gue Yin first complained to Gue Lin. Just as he finished speaking, Gue Yin's mouth twitched as he suddenly thought of something. Is Sister Jian someone who needs to brag? Was the boss of the international Kosha mercenaries someone who needed to brag? No way. With Sister Jian's status, she was someone people would be begging to meet internationally. Why would you need to do something as vulgar as bragging? Before Gue Yin could dwell on it, Annie hit the nail on the head. Haha, this is different. If you're just bragging, our Sister Jian doesn't need it. Sister Jian was showing off in front of an unreasonable person, but this was a different story. Bragging to unreasonable people means that the better you're doing, the angrier they'll be, right? So, what can we do by killing them? If we're happy, how can we not be happy when they're dead? We should learn from Sister Jian and piss them off, Diane said jokingly. In fact, Diane and the girls would still kill those who deserved to be killed. After all, there were some people who would cause endless trouble if they were not killed. What they were saying now was a joke. As Diane and Gue Yin conversed, both of them caught up to Yin Jian. Yin Jian arranged accommodations for Diane and the other two girls as well. It was Qin Yuru and Gue Yunjian's wedding 3 days later. Time flew, and in the blink of an eye, it was the day before the wedding. It was the night of the 20th of May, 1999. See, he had returned from an Hun group a day earlier. On the eve of the wedding, Yin Jian had sent out invitations in the name of the Kosha mercenaries. Those who were invited had already arrived in Longmen City. Recently, all the 4-star and 5-star hotels in Longmen City were fully booked. Gu Xian's biological mother, Hua Yun, was holding her husband, Hu Chaochuan's hand as they led their son, Hu Qixiang, to a 4-star hotel in Longmen City. I'm sorry, our hotel is full. The receptionist smiled again and politely refused. What's going on? This is already the 3rd star-rated hotel. Why are they all full? Hua Yun held Hu Chaochuan's hand and questioned the receptionist like a rich lady. Hua Yun and Hu Chaochuan did not live in Longmen City. Hu Chaochuan had chosen to open an amusement park in Longmen City purely because it was more suitable for development. Of course, part of the reason was that he wanted to show off in front of Hua Yun's ex-husband, Gu Junjian. Look, I casually invested in an amusement park, but what about you? You may be rich, but can you be richer than me? However, it was a pity that this project ended before it even started. See, he had already purchased the amusement park. It was now CE's, but Hua Yun and Hu Chaochuan were unaware of it. I'm sorry, sir and madam. I don't know why there have been a lot of guests these days, so... The receptionist smiled awkwardly. There's not even a room? I say, what's your hotel for? You actually... Hua Yun wanted to press further. Hu Chaochuan stopped Hua Yun's hand. My baby, don't be mad. There's no star-rated hotel. Let's just stay in a normal hotel for a night. Hua Yun's face darkened when she heard that they were going to a low-class place like a normal hotel. In spite of it, Hu Chaochuan quickly made Hua Yun smile again. Chapter 1045. When the receptionist heard Hu Chaochuan's words, she was very surprised. However, the receptionist could only look at the 2 customers in front of her and smile. In the end, the receptionist watched Hua Yun and Hu Chaochuan leave while holding Hu Qixiang's hand. It was only when the 3 of them left that she heaved a sigh of relief. She then picked up the phone at the front desk and dialed the hotel's general manager. General manager, all the rooms in our hotel tonight, including the deluxe suites, have been sold out. I heard from a woman who wanted to check in, but it's already full. She's already at the 3rd star-rated hotel. The receptionist reported what she had just learned to the general manager. On the other end of the phone, the general manager's voice continued. Many important people have come to Longmen City recently. Take it easy and don't offend anyone. Yes, the receptionist answered when she heard that many important people had come to Longmen City. She then probed the general manager carefully and curiously. Then, General Manager, Do you know why there are so many important people in a small place like Longman City? The receptionist was purely curious. Curiosity killed the cat. There was a saying that made sense. How would I know about the important people's business? Do you think I'm a god? Just do your job. The general manager roared at the receptionist in annoyance. The roar frightened the receptionist so much that she put down the phone at once and told the general manager hastily, "I understand. Thank you, general manager." Just as she finished, she saw a young girl walking in from the hotel's entrance not long after Hua Yun and Hu Chaochuan left. The girl had a high ponytail, but it was not tied to the top of her head. Instead, it was tied at a suitable position, making her look spirited. The girl's flawless face was slowly approaching her. Even the receptionist, who was a woman, could not help being dumbstruck. "Hello, how may I help you?" The receptionist greeted Yun Jian politely. "I'm looking for someone," Yun Jian said with a smile. Yun Jian was already at the front desk when she finished speaking and rubbed her fingertips on the table. After a moment of silence, she finally asked, "Where's room 3106? With the guidance of the receptionist, Yun Jian quickly arrived at the east side of the third floor of the hotel. She was the sixth room from here. When Yun Jian knocked on the door of room 3106, the door opened and she immediately went in. The door was then closed and locked. Yun Jian looked at the snake lizard in front of her and smiled. "Sister Jian, everything's ready for tomorrow, snake." Lizard told Yun Jian calmly, looking at her. What he got in return was a light nod from Yun Jian. "By the way, tell Raccoon to work harder tomorrow morning and wake up early to do my mom's makeup." As Yun Jian spoke, she walked to the big bed in Snake Lizard's room and sat down lazily. "All right, Snake." Lizard nodded. Raccoon and Fox were twin sisters. Raccoon was the one who came to deliver the Ferrari sports car to Yun Jian in the beginning. Every high-ranking member of the Kosha mercenaries had their own abilities, and each of them had the ability to take the world by storm. Raccoon was best at disguise. Transfiguration could also be referred to as makeup, but the difference was that it was based on makeup, turning a person into another person. Raccoon's disguise was already at the pinnacle of perfection, which meant that her makeup skills were even more unfathomable. Chapter 1046. These were all planned by Yun Jian herself, but since Snake Lizard came over, she only needed to inform Snake Lizard and Snake Lizard would take care of it. This way, Yun Jian could free up a lot of time to deal with other matters. After Snake Lizard listened to Yun Jian, she paused before saying, "Sister Jian, Tiger, Leopard, and the rest will be here tomorrow." The wedding was tomorrow, but the official ceremony was usually held in the afternoon and during dinner time. Yun Jian nodded in response. Once Snake Lizard was here, the burden of the Kosha mercenaries fell entirely on Tiger Leopard. If Tiger Leopard were to rush over, he would have to make arrangements for the Kosha mercenaries before he could rush over. Of course, Tiger Leopard did not have the time, so even if he were to come, he would rush back to the Kosha mercenaries after attending Qin Yuru's wedding tomorrow. Yun Jian replied with a nod. Yun Jian came here purely to brief Snake Lizard on the arrangements, like she was taking a stroll before she went downstairs. Just as Yun Jian turned around and was about to leave with her hand on the door lock, Snake Lizard's voice came from behind her again. "Sister Jian, the Ferrari sports car you sent for repair last time is fixed. It can be brought back to Longmen City tonight. I'll send it over for you tomorrow morning." Yun Jian paused before she turned to the side and hummed in response. The brakes of her Ferrari sports car had malfunctioned, and it had been sent to the factory for repair. Due to her connection with the Kosha mercenaries, the sports car was repaired at the fastest speed possible and sent back. Yun Jian's fiery red Ferrari was her favorite car that had accompanied her for years. If she could use this sports car to carry Qin Yuru to her wedding tomorrow, it would be the most gratifying thing for Yun Jian. "Send it over earlier tomorrow," Yun Jian said again before she opened the door to Snake Lizard's room and walked out. Snake Lizard did not follow her. When she saw Yun Jian leave the room, she said, "See you tomorrow," and closed the door again. Yun Jin tucked her hands into her pants pockets lazily and strolled out of the hotel. Just as she stepped out, the spring rain was still falling. Yun Jin took a whiff of the spring air, and a tall man, holding a black umbrella, appeared beside her. Si stood beside Yun Jin with a black umbrella. "Let's go home," Yun Jin said with a press of her lips as she walked down the stairs with Si beside her. Si asked softly, "Back to Xinjiang town?" Amen. Yun Jin nodded and followed Si to his Lamborghini sports car. Although Qin Yuru was getting married for the second time, she was still getting married. Most people would keep their second marriage a simple one, as they would not want others to know about it. However, Qin Yuru still had to marry from Zhang Meihua's family to save face. Of course, this was also a local custom. It was impossible for Qin Yuru to marry from Dong Ruan's family when her mother, Zhang Meihua, was still alive, right? If she really did that, she would definitely be gossiped about in this day and age. Yun Jin had just fastened her seatbelt when she got into the car when she saw that Si had not started the car. She frowned and was about to ask Si why he had not started the car. Si had already turned sideways and hugged Yun Jin. A familiar scent wafted into her nose, and Yun Jin was stunned. However, she placed her hand on Si's back and hugged him gently. His chin rested on her shoulder as his breath blew beside her ear. "Xiao Jian, you're moving away after your mom gets married?" Feeling one of the girl's plump breasts pressed against his chest, Si moved closer and hugged her as he asked faintly. Chapter 1047. There was no way he was going to admit that ever since Qin Yuru and Gu Junjin got together and set a wedding date, they were planning to get married. He was not worried about Qin Yuru being unhappy. Being with Gu Junjin, Qin Yuru was destined to be happy. This was not even within the scope of his concern. Instead, he was worried that Qin Yuru would move to Gu Yunjian's place and bring his Xiao Jian along. He had no objections to anything else, but bringing his Xiao Jian along was something he would not agree to. His Xiao Jian had to go to school. They did not have much time to see each other. If Yun Jian moved to Gu Yunjian's place, how was he going to openly hug her to sleep? How was he going to see Xiao Jian every day? "You're coming too." Yun Jian curled her lips at Si words and spoke like she was joking. If Si went with her, he would be no different from a live-in son-in-law. Yun Jian chuckled inwardly. She had never tried to embarrass the leader of the world's top assassin organization. She had never heard of anyone who could do so either. Today, she was going to make a precedent. Sensing that the woman in his arms was secretly delighted, Si did not expose her. Instead, he replied softly, "Okay." Of course, he had to go. How dare she plot against him? How could he let her off so easily? As he thought about it, a naughty idea popped up in Si's mind. In the end, Si drove Yun Jian back to Xinjiang town. Qin Yuru, Dong Ruan, Xiao Yunzhu, and the others were already in Xinjiang town. They would be busy the next morning, and there were things that had to be done early in the morning. Qin Yuru was getting married in Xinjiang town, so the day before the wedding, she had to stay in the town. However, Adam, Lan Su, and Mo's son still lived in Dong Ruan's house. After all, Zhang Meihua's house, which was Qin Yuru's elder brother Qin Liqian's house, did not have so many guest rooms. Si drove the Lamborghini back to Zhang Meihua's house in Xinjiang town with Yun Jian, leaving behind potholes on the cement ground caused by the drizzle. From afar, he could see that Zhang Meihua's house was brightly lit, and there were many people standing in the house. After the car came to a stop, he got out of the car first. He took out the black umbrella, opened it, and walked over to Yun Jian's front passenger seat. He opened the car door and gently shielded Yun Jian from the roof. Then, he led Yun Jian into Zhang Meihua's home. There were many people standing in the house. Of course, the important figures whom Yun Jian had invited to attend the wedding in the name of kosher mercenaries were unaware that they were not present. They only knew that on May 21st, 1999, at 5 in the evening, a grand wedding was held at Tranquil Harmony Hotel. At the moment, There were not only Dong Ruan and Xiao Yunju who were playing in Zhang Meihua's house, but there were also some relatives, friends, and neighbors who had come to collect their wedding gifts. Ge Junjian was not present as well. The bride and groom were not allowed to meet on the night before the wedding. This was a custom. Oh, Iru, I didn't expect you to get married again. Haha, your second marriage partner is a rich man too. You can even hold your wedding in a 4-star hotel. There aren't many daughters in our village who can get married like you. Isn't that so? Our Yiru is so blessed. Her daughter is the director of New Cruise, and her husband is a high-ranking officer in the military. 2 female neighbors from the same village came over to express their goodwill and gave Qin Yiru 50 yuan as a wedding gift before speaking in a slightly jealous and envious tone. Amidst the jubilation, another woman standing not far away spoke to Qin Yiru in an even more jealous and obviously unhappy tone. Chapter 1048. The woman who spoke to Qin Yiru out of kindness, but was actually very jealous, was Yang Xiaochun, a neighbor who lived near Yun Gang's house when Qin Yiru and Yun Gang were still husband and wife. Yang Xiaochun was considered Qin Yiru's neighbor, but they did not keep in touch after that. When Qin Yiru was down and out, Yang Xiaochun did not even bother with Qin Yiru. What about recently? Yang Xiaochun heard that Qin Yiru was getting married for the second time, and that the other party was a soldier. She also heard that Qin Yiru's daughter had become the director of New Cruise. A rural woman like Yang Xiaochun had no idea what kind of company New Cruise was. It was precisely because she did not know about New Cruise. She had only heard that the company was impressive and was considered well-known in Longmen City. Working in New Cruise also paid a lot. That was why Yang Xiaochun reluctantly gave Qin Yiru 20 yuan as a gift and wanted to get closer to Qin Yiru. There were always people in this world who thought that they were very close to you and wanted to give you a 20 yuan gift. After giving you the money, they would be good friends again. Yang Xiaochun was such a person. She did not like Qin Yiru at all in the past. There was even one time when Qin Yiru was cooking at home and there was no salt at home. Qin Yiru had gone to Yang Xiaochun's house to borrow some. Yang Xiaochun clearly had salt at home, but she was stingy, thinking that Qin Yiru would not return the salt she borrowed in the future. So she lied and said that there was no salt at home. Qin Yiru had actually gone to borrow it when she saw that Yang Xiaochun's husband had just bought a pack of salt. It was just that Qin Yiru was too embarrassed to ask for it when Yang Xiaochun refused to give it to her. Since then, however, Qin Yiru had been planning to stay away from Yang Xiaochun. Qin Yiru did not expect Yang Xiaochun to come to her house today and even give her a gift when she used to be so stingy. But in reality, 20 renminbi was considered a small amount even in the amount of money given in 1999. Generally speaking, only those old women who were so poor that they couldn't even afford to have enough food and clothing would give 20 yuan as a wedding gift for a family in the countryside. Qin Yiru did not like Yang Xiaochun to begin with. Now that Yang Xiaochun had given her a gift, she thought that she had the right to speak and even pointed fingers at Qin Yiru. The first reason Yang Xiaochun said that was jealousy. She was jealous that Qin Yiru's second marriage was more than 10 times better than other girls' marriages. No one in Xinjiang town could compare to Ge Yunjian's family background. Even in Longmen City, Ge Yunjian's family background was one of the best. Seeing that Qin Yiru was fiddling with the bridal headdress for tomorrow and ignoring her, Yang Xiaochun was indignant and said again, Yiru, we've been together for so long. Oh, Yiru, we've been neighbors for more than 10 years. Do you think I'd harm you? What are women most afraid of? What we're most afraid of is not marrying well and having a second marriage with a family after a divorce. It's uncertain if the man will treat you well in the future if you marry him. I think you're still the same as Ahua in Xinjiang town last month. Didn't she just throw a simple banquet for her second marriage and let it pass just like that? Dongwan had gone to the washroom and did not support Qin Yiru, so Yang Xiaochun could still spout so much nonsense. As she spoke, Yun Jian was already in front of Qin Yiru. Chapter 1049. Yun Jian's words hinted that Yang Xiaochun was just an outsider. What right did she have to criticize her family's affairs? There were plenty of gossipy women like Yang Xiaochun in the countryside. In the city, there were more people who wrapped themselves up like noble women and thought they were high and mighty like Hua Yun. In the past, the majority of the villagers were uncultured. Therefore, they would say one thing in front of others, but when they turned a corner, they would stand behind others and point at them. This was a major phenomenon in the villages, and it was also one of the characteristics of the villages. Yang Xiaochun was just an ordinary rural woman. She felt that it was quite normal for her to criticize other people's family matters. However, when Yang Xiaochun heard Yun Jian's words, it sounded like Yun Jian was implying that she was meddling in other people's business, so Yang Xiaochun was displeased. "You're Yiru's daughter, Yun Jian, aren't you?" "Who am I?" "I've been your mother's neighbor for at least a decade. I heard that you're the director of new crews. You're so young, you must be something. But I've been there. Your mother is getting married for the second time, and her second marriage is even grander than an innocent maiden's. This has never happened in Longmin City. I'm doing this for your mother's sake. You'll understand in the future that I'm doing this for your family's sake." Yang Xiaochun was extremely displeased by Yun Jian's words, but she held it in considering that Yun Jian was the director of new crews and was said to have some status. Besides, you can't spend money like this even if you're rich. Unless you can have a wedding that can't be held in Longmin City. If you spend this money, it'll be your mother's second marriage. Who knows what people will say about it? When Yang Xiaochun saw that Yun Jian did not say anything, she thought that she had convinced Yun Jian. Feeling that what she said made more sense, Yang Xiaochun spoke with more vigor. Everyone was like that. Qin Yiru was getting married for the second time. If her wedding was unrivaled in Longmin City, the news would spread in the future. Qin Yiru's second marriage would be said to be a stroke of good fortune, because this was a height that others couldn't reach, even if they were jealous. But tomorrow's wedding was just a meal at a 4-star hotel. Although it was a big deal, a lot of people would be jealous. Some people even felt that Qin Yiru's family had only made a little money, and they were already proud of it. These two concepts were completely different. Of course, Yang Xiaochun did not say this out of consideration for Qin Yiru. She was just jealous. She was jealous that Qin Yiru could find such a good man in her second marriage. If she really saw Qin Yiru get married tomorrow, she would definitely feel very uncomfortable in her heart. Moreover, Yang Xiaochun had said, "Unless you guys can arrange a wedding that no one in Longmin City can do." Yang Xiaochun was not the only one who did not believe that Qin Yiru could arrange such a wedding. Everyone present, including Qin Yiru herself, did not believe that it could be done. "You don't have to worry about what others say. I really believe that you're thinking for my family now that you can leave this place." Yun Jian stood in front of Ce, looking at Yang Xiaochun with her arms crossed and a slight scorn in her eyes. Everyone present could clearly hear the intention of sending them off between the lines. "You?" Yang Xiaochun's breath hitched at Yun Jian's words this time. She pointed at Yun Jian in exasperation and could not hold herself back from shouting. "I'm thinking for your family. You actually... Great, great." Chapter 1050. With that, Yang Xiaochun stormed off in a huff. Just as she stepped out of Zhang Meihua's house, Yang Xiaochun muttered inwardly, "I must pay back with interest when I go to a 4-star hotel for dinner tomorrow." All right, she would have to bring her husband and child along when the time came. Moreover, she had only paid 20 yuan as a share. It was definitely worth it for the three of them to dine in a 4-star hotel. After Yang Xiaochun left, there were a few women standing by the side. Although they were a little envious of Qin Yiru for marrying so well in her second marriage, it was only in their hearts. Their expressions and words were still blessings. "Yiru, we don't like Yang Xiaochun in the first place. Don't stoop to her level," one of the women told Qin Yiru. As the woman spoke, she turned to Yun Jian, her gaze brimming with charm. "Yiru is her daughter. Don't hold it against someone like that. It's not worth it if you hurt yourself for someone like that." As it turned out, after Yang Xiaochun left, the atmosphere took a turn for the better. "Hey, Yiru, is this your son-in-law? He's so handsome. I've never seen such a handsome young man in my life." As they chatted, the women shifted the topic to Yun Jian and Si. The woman who knew how to charm just now was looking at Si and fawning over Qin Yuru. Everything else aside, the woman was sincere in praising Si Yi's good looks. Qin Yuru was delighted to hear the woman's words. Since Si Yi and her daughter were already acting like this, Qin Yuru wanted to agree as well. However, Si Yi beat her to it and told the woman, "Xiao Jian is mine." Si Yi's reply was swift, as if he was afraid that others would not know that Yun Jian was his. When the group of women and old ladies heard this, they all laughed happily and made fun of her. The night passed quickly. The next day arrived as promised. At 5 o'clock in the morning, Yun Jian had already gotten up when the sun had just risen. On the morning of May 21st, 1999, the sun rose with a smile. Last night, it was still drizzling and the night breeze was chilly. On the morning of the 21st, the sky was completely clear. White clouds even appeared on the horizon in the morning, indicating that it was going to be a sunny day. Hurry up and prepare breakfast. After breakfast, we can prepare lunch to welcome the wedding team. Some neighbors came to help and started to get busy. Dinner was eaten in a 4-star hotel, but lunch was ordered in a large pot of rice. There were many customs for marriage in the countryside. For example, what time the dowry should be delivered to the groom's house, and what time the bride should be delivered to the groom's house. At this moment, in Qin Yuru's room, Yun Jian stood in front. Qin Yuru sat in front of a simple dressing table. There were a few women standing beside her. One of them was Yang Xiaochun from yesterday. Raccoon was squatting on the floor and organizing her makeup box that was several layers thick. She had yet to put on Qin Yuru's makeup. The makeup box was actually used by Raccoon to disguise people. Raccoon had a baby face, so she looked very young. She looked like she was only 15 despite being 25 years old. Watching Raccoon squatting on the floor and organizing the makeup box, Yang Xiaochun's untimely voice rang again. "How old is this girl? Does she really know how to put on makeup?" Watching Raccoon take out various items from the makeup box skillfully, Yang Xiaochun was reminded that she did not know anything, so she spoke sourly again. Chapter 1051. Despite what Yang Xiaochun had said yesterday, she did not plan a fallout with Qin Yuru and Yun Jian. After all, Qin Yuru was going to marry a rich man, and Yun Jian was the director of new crews now. She dared not offend someone of such high status. Yang Xiaochun felt that everything she said was reasonable, and she had a confidence that she did not know where it came from. She felt that she was right. More importantly, she felt that in the end, even Qin Yuru and Yun Jian would agree with her point of view and treat her differently. They might even see her as their savior. It was also this concept that made Yang Xiaochun even more firm in his beliefs. Because of this, Yang Xiaochun came here early in the morning. Half squatting on the ground, Tanuki fiddled with her makeup box sparsely. Listening to the incessant chatter, she resisted the urge to kill Yang Xiaochun and the group of chattering women and spoke to Yun Jian. "Why are you here?" "Sister Jian, I need a quiet environment." Once Tanuki said that, Yun Jian knocked on the door casually and ordered Yang Xiaochun and the chattering women to leave. "My mom needs makeup. Get out." She was not asking them to leave, but ordering them to do so in a commanding tone. The chattering women, including Yang Xiaochun, were stunned by Yun Jian's firm tone. After all, girls were usually gentle and quiet. None of them were like Yun Jian, who would order people around the moment she opened her mouth. In spite of it, considering that Yun Jian was the director of new crews, she was different in certain matters. Thus, the women went down the stairs while chattering. Yang Xiaochun, on the other hand, was a typical blabbermouth among the rural women. Once she heard Yun Jian's imposing words and saw the other women around her walking down the stairs, she grumbled as she followed them down the stairs. "What's wrong with you? Oh my, what's with this person? It's a big day today." Forget that she didn't listen to me when I gave her some suggestions. She even chased us out. "Hey, say, Yuru's daughter has quite the temper. She's earning a lot now, but with her temper, who would dare to marry her in the future?" Yang Xiaochun had left in a huff yesterday, so she did not hear C.E. saying that Xiao Jian was mine. The women around her glanced at Yang Xiaochun from the corner of their eyes, but did not respond to her. Inside the room, Qin Yuru, who was already dressed in her wedding gown, sat in front of the dressing table. Yun Jian told Tanuki before closing the door and going downstairs. Downstairs was already bustling with activity. Zhang Meihua wanted to please Yun Jian now, so she hired many old women to help at the wedding. Most of the people downstairs who came to help had already started eating breakfast. After breakfast, they busied themselves with lunch and sent the dowry to the groom's house first after the bridal escort team came over for lunch. Then, they set a time to send the bride to the groom's house at 3:30 p.m. After the lively ceremony was over, they would send the bride, groom, and bride's relatives to Clear Rhythm Hotel at 4:30 p.m. for the wedding ceremony that night. This was the process of a village wedding in a big hotel. After breakfast, Yang Xiaochun sat on a stool to help peel potatoes. As she did so, she complained to the crowd around her. "I say, Yuru's daughter, the makeup artist she found for her is too young. What kind of makeup can a makeup artist like her do?" Yin Jian was standing not too far away. Just as Yang Xiaochun said that, someone pointed at the staircase noisily. "The bride is coming down." Yang Xiaochun looked over in disdain and happened to see Qin Yuru coming down the stairs. Chapter 1052. Qin Yuru was already in her 40s. She had spent her entire life worrying about Yun Jian and Yun Yi. In the first half of her life, she had to support the Yun family. Her youthful beauty had long turned into calluses and wrinkles on her hands, as well as a plump rural woman. However, ever since she divorced Yun Gang and escaped from the huge fire pit that was the Yun family, Qin Yuru had completely changed. Her originally yellowish skin, which was due to overwork, had also turned fair. More importantly, Qin Yuru had been going jogging in the park these days. Now that she no longer had a job, she was living a comfortable life. More importantly, she no longer had to work hard. When a person's body and mind were comfortable, their weight would naturally decrease. Qin Yuru's current weight and appearance were both quite good. In addition, Qin Yuru's facial features were very good, which Yun Jian had inherited from her. Therefore, there was also Raccoon's exquisite makeup skills. Qin Yuru, who came down from the stairs, had on natural makeup. That simple and elegant makeup made it seem as if she was born with it. At first glance, her snow-white wedding dress outlined her graceful waist that had recently lost weight. No matter from which angle one looked at her, she was so beautiful that one could not take their eyes off her. This makeup paired with the wedding dress made Qin Yuru, who came down from upstairs, look 20 years younger. This makeup did not look thick, but it was actually very delicate. This was Raccoon's ability. She could cover up a person's makeup, but she could also make the person look younger by a few decades after the makeup. Raccoon could even disguise a person as another person. With just this bit of makeup, it was not difficult for her at all. However, after Qin Yuru put on the makeup, she did not look old at all, even when she stood next to Yun Jian. Therefore, when the people downstairs saw Qin Yuru, they all shouted in surprise. At this moment, Yang Xiaochun, who had been complaining to the people around her about how good Qin Yuru's makeup could be, stood there in a daze. On the other end, Qin Yuru slowly held onto the railing of the staircase and lifted the hem of her white wedding dress as she walked down. She was all smiles, but just by looking at her face, she really looked like a young lady in her 20s. It was no exaggeration to say that this makeup made Qin Yuru look 20 years younger. Oh my God, was this really Yuru? This was simply 20 years younger. The group of gossipy women who were standing there were all dumbfounded. They stood there in a daze, not knowing what to do. It wasn't that they were ignorant, but the impact of this makeup was too great. There wasn't a single person present who wasn't shocked. Among them, the one with the worst expression was Yang Xiaochun, because before this, she had been criticizing Raccoon's makeup skills. What about now? Qin Yuru's makeup was probably second to none in the entire Longmen City, Zhe province, or even the entire country, who was as skilled as Raccoon. It was then that Yun Jian walked to Qin Yiru. She carefully helped Qin Yiru's hand up and pulled Qin Yiru downstairs. "Mom, I'll get breakfast for you. Take a seat first." Yun Jian had already pulled Qin Yiru to the dining table. Just as they reached the table, a young man from the same village who came to help suddenly rushed in. The young man ran in, panting. Before he could finish his breath, he pointed in the direction of the door and shouted in horror, "The door! The entire road from the door to the groom's house is covered with a red carpet, from the beginning to the end. Who did this?" "What?" Everyone present was dumbfounded when they heard the young man's words. When ordinary families got married, the most they would do was to lay out a red carpet in the church. While red carpets were not the most expensive, it was still a huge expense to lay out more. In the end, the entire road from the door to the groom's house was covered with a red carpet. The groom's house was in Longmen City. It was a long distance from Xinjiang town. Everyone present was so scared that their faces froze. Chapter 1053. The group's attention was drawn to the melodious female voice, only to see Yun Jian with her arms crossed in front of her with a smirk, looking at everyone in front of her openly. When they saw that the melodious voice came from Yun Jian, everyone was shocked and terrified. When they snapped out of it, they suppressed their fear on the surface, but their hearts were in turmoil. What did the young man say? He said that it would start from Zhang Meihua's house, which was Xinjiang town, and end at Gu Yunjian's house in Longmen City. The distance should be at least 30 to 40 kilometers. 30 to 40 kilometers. 1 kilometer was 1,000 meters. A distance of 30 to 40 kilometers was covered with red carpets. How many red carpets would be used to pave the entire road? Just how much RMB would it take to achieve such a feat? It was unheard of in the entire Longmen City, Zhe province, or even the entire country. Especially in 1999, it was already considered respectable if people could afford 2 wedding cars in this era, especially if they were from a common brand. It was grand enough. As for laying out a red carpet that was 3 to 4 kilometers from the bride's house to the groom's house, those present had never heard of it. Even if they had thought of it, they would not dare to imagine it. How much would it cost? How much manpower would it take? Everyone present, including the gossipy women, Yang Xiaochun, Zhang Meihua, Qin Liqian's family, and many others who came to help, stared at the scene unfolding before them with widened eyes. Yun Jian took 2 steps toward the young man who had barged in with a roar just now. She wore a bright smile with a slight curl of her lips. Her face, without any makeup, was delicate and beautiful. Yun Jian pressed her lips together and said faintly, "Don't make a fuss. I got someone to pave it." Yang Xiaochun paled even more after Yun Jian spoke. Yang Xiaochun did not expect Yun Jian to be so rich. Was her new cruise really that profitable? Yang Xiaochun did not know that New Cruise was a company that sold cars. She merely thought that Yun Jian had started a small company. Yang Xiaochun's face was pale. She was jealous that Yun Jian could take out so much money. Therefore, as soon as Yun Jian finished speaking, Yang Xiaochun immediately said, How much will this cost? Even the rich don't have such extravagance." At this moment, the entire place was silent. Obviously, everyone was shocked by what Yun Jian had done. Even Qin Yiru was dumbfounded. At the same time, she stared blankly at the scene in front of her. However, Yang Xiaochun's words implied that Yun Jian had no money but pretended to be rich. Such a sentence stunned the surrounding people once again. There were even some people who couldn't stand it anymore. So they stood up and said to Yang Xiaochun, "Yang Xiaochun, you talk too much. Other people's family matters are none of your business. What are you saying? Today is such a happy day, and you're the only one who talks too much." That person had just reprimanded Yang Xiaochun. Yun Jian continued speaking, but Yun Jian ignored Yang Xiaochun completely. She only turned her gaze to Qin Yiru. "Mom, you used to work hard for me and my brother, shouldering all the burdens yourself. Now that I'm all grown up, I won't be as insensible as before. Today's red carpet is my first wedding gift to you. You'll always be my mom." Yun Jian's words were for the original owner of the body, as well as for herself. Ever since she was reborn, Chin Yiru had never vented her bitterness in front of her. Chin Yiru had always kept the bitterness to herself and left the best for her children. Chapter 1054. Yin Jian ignored Yang Xiaochun. As long as Yang Xiaochun did not cross her bottom line, there was no need for her to care about a job-hopping clown. Why? It was too degrading. There was no need for that. Who would waste so much time arguing with a person like Yang Xiaochun and spouting nonsense? Yin Jian did not have to do that. In spite of it, what Yin Jian said to Chin Yiru was from the bottom of her heart. She had wanted to say these words to Chin Yiru for a long time. "You'll always be my mom" might sound like nothing to ordinary people, but to Yin Jian, it meant something entirely different. In her previous life, she had no family, friendship, or love. She only knew who she could benefit from working with, like Snake, Lizard, and Tiger, Leopard. They were old friends of hers. In spite of it, Yin Jian had kept her bottom line even when Snake, Lizard, and Tiger, Leopard knew a lot of her secrets. She did not have a heart back then. After her rebirth, be it Chin Yiru or Yin Yi, both of them had taught her something. It was family. Now, she knew what kinship was all about. Xiao Jian. Chin Yiru could not help shuddering when she heard what Yin Jian said. She had hidden all the hardships she had suffered all these years in her heart, trying to leave the best for her daughter and son. Chin Yiru was not a god. Neither was she a remarkable person. She was just an ordinary village woman, an ordinary person who could not be more ordinary. "Xiao Jian, you child, why are you speaking so maturely?" Chin Yiru stuttered as she recalled the past. She felt a lump in her throat, but she swallowed it quickly. "Mom." Yin Jian came over and lifted Chin Yiru's face gently, wiping away Chin Yiru's tears that were about to fall from Chin Yiru's eyes. "Mom is the prettiest woman today," Yin Jian said with a knowing smile. "Look, you're 20 years younger now." Yin Jian's words made Chin Yiru smile through her tears. "You child, you're real." As she spoke, she was slowly comforted. Seeing that Chin Yiru was comforted, Yang Xiaochun pulled a long face again. That was right. She could not stand Chin Yiru's good behavior. Pretending when you're not capable. "Yiru, I'm not criticizing your family. I just think that your daughter doesn't know how to manage the family. If she spends like this, she'll spend all her family's wealth." Yang Xiaochun pretended to be innocent even though she had taken advantage of the situation. She had said that Yin Jian liked rich people who pretended to be rich, but she still pretended that she was thinking for Chin Yiru's family. There were many people like her in real life. However, just as Yang Xiaochun finished speaking, someone outside the door let a few people into the house. "They're here. They're here. The loading team from the groom's house is here." Someone called out and brought a few tall and burly men into the house. The loading team here referred to the team that drove the truck to load the bride's dowry to the groom's house. It was not the same as the wedding car that drove the bride to the groom's house. The bridal team is here too. Look, that's what brand of wedding car is that?" Another voice came from the door. Yin Jian raised a brow. Just as she thought of that, the person standing at the door exclaimed, 2, 3, no, 4, 5, 6, 18 wedding cars. I'm not seeing things, am I? The car at the front, if I'm not mistaken, is a Rolls-Royce. That you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.